Yay.
Test.
They can hear you guys, but I don't think they can hear me. There we go. Now they can hear me.
Sound.
That intro, though.
Yeah, good intro, right? Okay, let me redo this. Welcome, everybody, to the Ashes of Creation Community Podcast. It's a real Ashes podcast as long as we have audio issues. This time around, we are going to do something a little bit differently. For those of you who watched us before, you know that last 2 weeks ago, we had our 1 year anniversary, and Stephen Sharif was actually on the podcast. So today, I decided after 1 year, we're going to try something a little bit differently. This podcast today is not going to be a real podcast. This is going to be a discussion round. And the madman that I am, I decided to invite almost everybody that has been on the podcast before. Guys, say hi.
Hello.
Hello.
So,
Hi.
So it's a bunch of people. And the way this is going to work is we have a wheel. All right, I will show the wheel. This is the wheel. Ta-da-da-da! Awesome wheel. We're going to spin the wheel. And whoever gets picked is going to be able to choose a topic that we're going to talk about. I want to warn everybody, some of the topics might be not really game related, might be a little bit more with the community. There might be some topics that get a couple people in trouble, especially me. So heads up, this is going to be different. This is going to be Ashes related, but a little bit different. All right, should I spin the wheel?
Yeah, it'll be really fun.
Yeah, let's spin the wheel.
All right, spin the wheel. All right, I'm spinning the wheel. Give me a second. How does this work again? All right, here we go. All right. Daedalus.
Dun, dun, dun.
Of course, it's me first. Let's start out with will quote-unquote big guilds ruin the experience for everyone else in Ashes of Creation?
All right.
What do you guys think?
Yes, next please.
I'm going to say no, because there's going to be the experience of what they do for Metropolis and holding down their space, the safety of their space, and or going against another Metropolis large clan scenario. That's going to be part of the game that we should look forward to.
What do we... Wait, question before we get into this. What do we define as a big guild?
100 plus.
Are we talking 100 plus, or are we talking Zerg guild?
Zerg Guild.
Yeah, Zerg guild versus
Zerg.
a large guild, right?
Leave Zerg out of it.
Yep.
Guild A, B,
So if
C,
it's a Zerg guild, I mean, chances are,
All of the above.
depending on how many of the smaller guilds align themselves with that large guild. So I'm talking like, you have your 500 cap, and then you have another 500 and 500 going down the line that way. You could potentially own a good portion of the server if it was designed that way, if they allow it for that to happen. So they potentially, one guild could technically own a large portion of the server, which could ruin the fun for people. But if you have multiple servers,
disagree.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, I think the scale and scope of Ashes of Creation is going to be so much more complex than your generic Korean MMOs or, Arcade or BDO. So it's going to be practically impossible for one guild to control that high of an aspect of a server.
I agree on
Yeah.
that. I agree.
You think
We're gonna see.
Well, maybe if it's only one large guild, but if you have multiple large guilds,
Yeah, like an alliance.
right? Like if you have like two
I
or
would say
three large
alliance.
guilds that are alliance based, I mean, the potential is there. I'm not saying that it'll happen, but I'm saying the potential is there for them to server control.
That's
when you say control, you mean of just that metro or the server, the whole thing?
Well, I would imagine, obviously, depending on where they're based and stuff like that, they could control for a large majority of a metro. I don't think they're going to run like everything in that. But when I'm saying like almost like a majority control, like you think of like a company based, right? Like if they control, the raids, or they control the castle sieges, and they control that stuff with the taxes, then depending on the nodes that they own, they could control a fair bit of the server itself, depending on how large that guild is, plus how large the alliance guilds are.
So
again,
to go back to the original question, will it make a difference? That's exactly the reasoning that you said, that I think it will, and we should embrace it. Meaning, if there is a guild that can do that, do we those other little guilds go against them, join in with them, align with them, etc., or form up another big guild, take over another part of the server, and it becomes a 1v1 guild giant versus guild giant. I think it is a part of the game. It's very integral.
Well, like a lot of the time in like big guilds or games like, you know, BDO and stuff, like even if you try to be the biggest guild in the game and have multiple guilds, you end up like having separation and stuff where, oh, this guy was a jerk to me and blah, 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 so I'm going to form my own super guild of all these other people that I picked out of the guild that I was in.
The guilds tend to go Game of Thrones very quickly.
Zeke, in all fairness to your comment there, though, we have that issue on arcades on the last Fresh Start that I played, and all we ended up with is a bunch of crybabies that were like 90 different guilds. So there were 5 big guilds. They couldn't work together as a collaborative. So sure, go ahead. It could be a dick measuring competition, but it's a bunch of little dicks, so it doesn't really matter.
Alright, I gotta throw my opinion in here because I don't think it's an issue of big guilds because I never played EVE, but I heard rumors on EVE and I heard stories that one person rules like half of EVE because of the money he makes and stuff like that. So I don't think it's an issue of big guilds, and in general, I think it's more the issue of the mentality of the players. Because if, let's say, if you are an influential person and you control several guilds, and if you're the biggest asshole in the universe and you decide, you know what, I don't want anybody else to have fun, so you demand or you force the guilds that you control to mess up everybody else. So that's just one person messing up everybody else. Because
oh, sorry, go ahead, BCG.
Yeah, because just being a big guild does not really mean you have power, because I seen freaking huge guilds not being able to pull off the smallest like issue, like manage the smallest issues. For example, if you go and look at it from a PlanSide 2 perspective, a lot of people makes a lot of firepower. Firepower makes shit easy, but that can also be, you know, be managed by one person that just knows how to, you know, work information.
Yeah, and it's one thing to be big. It's quite another, like everyone's saying, to be organized, right? If you can't, you know, keep people in line or keep people focused, the big guild isn't really going to make a difference. And I think also, I mean, we're talking about ultimately the politics of Ashes of Creation. So if you do have a larger guild, right, a Zerg guild that somehow asserts their control, with any tyranny, there will always be resistance to that tyranny, right? And that's the whole point of the game, right, is the rise and fall of nations.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're on topic with this, so I mean, from my experience with large guilds as well, large guilds work to a certain extent, usually the first couple of months of a game, and then, you know, drama sets in, people get certain items, people definitely, since you have mixing ideologies within a large guild, and they usually don't have a singular focus aside from try to control everything, and once that doesn't really work out because they lack leadership or lack organization, like we've already talked about, there becomes those splinters, and like Bell said, they can't work together. You end up getting a whole bunch of crybabies in one guild, and they splinter off, and it continues down that line. So I agree with Bell in that situation. When I was talking about a large guild control, I guess I was talking about near the beginning of the game or at a certain point. They're gonna have obviously a large power because it's just man force, right? or man force, or whatever the case may be. Manpower. Sorry. Man force. Okay. Anyway, yeah.
Man force power.
They'll be able to control that and use that to their advantage. But after a while, once people start not getting the things that they want out of the guild, there will be splintering off. So that will cause issues and drama, and will allow for other guilds to kind of gain back that power at one point in time.
I mean,
Grundle, do you really think that any guild is going to be able to control the things on the economy front, or just a lockdown of general content? Because you can have a lot of members, but really, how do you lock that down when the scope is so large?
I guess the easiest thing for that, Bell, is I don't think, like, when I'm saying like lockdown, I'm not saying that they control it 100%. I'm saying, like, you know, depending on what raid-wide things are happening in Ashes, and I know they're event-based, but depending on the loot and depending on if there are things in the open world where they can control, like drops or whatever the case may be, if they own it like 65, 75% of the time, you know, that breeds power based off of, you know, economic wise or whatever the case may be. There's always going to be outliers to those individuals or those guilds as well. So that power will be spread. It just will be majority controlled at the beginning anyway of larger guilds, at least in my opinion.
Honestly, I think that the no fast travel is going to limit that.
Yeah, my the way I think about it is I know, or I'm pretty sure this was an example that was given before about, for example, mining nodes. Like if there is a mining node in the world, that it'll be there and its resources will exhaust, but then it'll probably come up somewhere else. If a big guild is able to say control this said mining node, they can get all the resources for themselves and rule the economic value of that specific mining node. And they can jurisdict, this is how much this is worth, this is how much money we can make off of it, and it allows us to further snowball by either using the resources for ourselves or using the money to continue our snowball to becoming a larger entity.
Let me ask every one of you just one simple question. What MMORPG did you ever play where one big guild was on top of the ladder for a long period of time,
Arcade.
BDO.
Oh, yeah, Arcade.
BDO.
I was on the same server as Orenthal, so I had to deal with that.
I played BDO for 3.5 years, and I never really, like, when I say long period of time, I mean several years.
I was told by a friend, EVE Online.
Yeah, like EVE Online is something. EVE Online, I wouldn't even like put EVE Online in the same category because EVE Online is a whole different story. But I mean, like games like World of Warcraft, Arcade, Guild Wars 2, I don't know, freaking EverQuest, whatever you want. In what game did you ever like experience that there's a guild on top the entire time?
I mean,
yeah. If you think about it, any game that has open world PvP mixed on top of PvE, that happens. So any game.
Yeah, exactly.
We experienced like a decade ago in a game called Ion where a Korean guild just pretty much dominated out the server. It can happen, and then as stragglers or little individuals who only have 1 or 2 people in their guild, etc., don't want to be ran down by it, they just become joiners to the larger thing so they can at least just enjoy the game. So it can happen, even though it may not run well as a large entity. Yeah. It still exists as a large entity, and if you aren't part of it, you get mowed down by it. So,
if the entire server gets dominated by one guild that does not have the server population majority, then you know it's the server's own fault because you know you can change that in Ashes. Just band together and kick their freaking butt.
Yeah, I mean, plus also like the sieges or what you call it, metropolises that stay alive for like way too long. You know, you get that like anti-Zerg bonuses for like when you're fighting against them. You get like the legendary quest will unlock if you beat this metro down or whatever for a siege.
Well, a guild could be large enough that it's the guild fighting itself over the one metropolis.
Yeah, I mean that happens in a lot of like sandbox games.
Yeah, my example was of BDO in BCG. I don't know what server you were on.
Are you playing EU or NA?
NA.
Yeah, then don't even I'm Europe. Like, get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here.
But I mean, in NA it's like all Snake and Cho Nation.
A thing that big guilds can do is spend resources for the server optimally. So depending on the kind of experience that you're looking for out of Ashes, say a big guild that controls everything might be able to unlock the most legendaries on a server compared to other servers.
But what I was getting to was, for example, on the NA servers for BDO, Man Up was more or less in control of, like, you had those special elite mob rotations that they would sit there, and if they saw you killing one, they would permadeck on your guild and would camp you outside cities. Now, I'm not saying the Ashes will be like that, but again, it was they had the power to do so, and they were abusing it so that they could gain a snowball effect that would either benefit them or they could use it to control the market.
Okay, I get that it would work in Black Desert Online where you do not have caps. Okay, you have soft caps, but still, it's the leveling and the gearing and the money-wise, it's open-ended. I just don't see that being that big of an issue because Ashes, because there's so much that can change. That's the whole thing about the idea of the game, right?
Yeah, and then there's like gear caps and level caps in Ashes, where in BDO, if you get high enough, you're just God.
I'm not worried about it in Ashes because look at the politics already going on. I mean, early on, I think it's going to be already difficult for people to be that organized as the big guilds were in BDO and Arcade.
Alright, does anybody want to add anything to that topic?
I think we've driven it.
I mean, my like that's what I was kind of getting at is Ashes is going to be a sandbox. I mean, the potential is, I guess you could say, limitless, and it's going to be like you're going to have open trading, you're going to have this, that, and the other. And if we have a player-controlled economy, then whoever is in control of the, I guess, resources is in control of essentially the server. Like, you could have the most common resource.
You see right there.
But this resource, there's going to be more than one resource. Our calculations of how big the map is going to be, there's no way that it's going to be one resource one guild can hold on to.
Yeah, because
I understand, but on top of like, and I'm not saying like for every single resource, but let's say you have a rare resource such as Mithril, which I think was used as an example.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If someone can control the Mithril resource, they could either inflate the price to an absolute absurd amount, or they can use that resource and exclude other people from being able to use it. And that will lead to a snowball for those specific people who have control of it, and that'll leave others to fall behind simply because they can't reach that resource, so that they can't reach that next step.
Yeah, it becomes a barrier to entry. Is basically what you're saying, Yato. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I mean he makes a good point. It doesn't necessarily. I think the wording is a little bit weird in the sense of you don't need to control the entire thing. You just need to control the large majority of the resource. So then you basically set the price, and then people are going to undercut you. But that's going to get that's going to sell a lot faster. So that the majority of that resource, depending on the localization of the markets, and we're saying if you can control, let's say, a third or a fifth of the map, depending on your guild, and you have just people literally dealing with this one resource, you could technically do that. I just think that's a waste of resources for your guildmates.
You would need a large portion of that server just to control that much of the map.
Exactly, and I think that's a waste of just like your man hours, right, of your guildmates. But it is a possibility.
But
I don't think any guild will be that big.
Yeah.
I can see things like YouTubers or streamers who can have followers come into the game that could be that big of a group, but I don't think guilds will be that big.
I don't think, because honestly I don't think that any guild will be able to really control Ashes on one server that much. First off, because resources are not respawning at the same point over and over again. They are spawning on the entire freaking map. And secondly, it's local economy. It's on one server economy, so they only gonna control the economy for one node unless they put in the effort and setting up a trade system and economy system with different with other nodes where they have trade routes.
With that,
that's what I was saying before BCG. Think about caravans.
Yeah.
So the stuff respawns. How in the hell are you getting the resources over?
Yeah, in the economy base too. I don't know if we could actively deny a guild or a place from transporting that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
which means the value of it goes completely to nothing.
If a guild managed to pull this off, then honestly, then they deserve to run the server.
To be realistic, the size of the server plus the amount of dedicated players to close down even one resource that you would need is absolutely absurd. I mean, for a big guild, having say 40, 50 people just to close down one resource, that's not really viable, because a lot of those players, they won't want to sit there all day. They'll want to go and actually play the game, which makes closing something down like that incredibly difficult.
As a good reference, though, 300 people to a guild. A Metropolis can have more than one guild.
So, like, look at how big Ashes is supposed to be. Steven said 480 square kilometers. That's about the same size as the country of Andorra, which is, I think I just looked it up, it was 77,000 people. The servers are only going to be 10,000 or less online.
Just as a reference for that, the World of Warcraft original map was half that size. Not including the fact that there's 2 levels in the game if you include the underworld.
That's a big ass. What I can
technically,
see,
it's 4 times the size of Vanilla WoW's map.
What I can see is maybe one big guild controlling a raid entrance for like a majority of a day.
You might just control like a big chunk. Like, I own the northern hemisphere or something.
That also depends how they're doing Zerg mechanics, anti-Zerg mechanics, because if the ratios are buff based or something like that, they're just going to hurt themselves.
Alright, I want to spin the wheel. Can I spin the wheel?
Spin
the wheel.
Okay, I'm gonna spin the wheel. Stop being so bullshit. Alright, I'm spinning. Deathfire.
Why I gotta be white?
I don't know.
You can't ask why someone's white.
Don't ask me.
Well, I'm half white, so.
Half racist.
Right, what's the topic?
Okay, let's see.
We can tell.
Just for everybody who's watching, we have a big ass list of topics.
It's a huge list.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Okay, let's do something fun and put somebody on the spot. Chili Tavern is just another place to hang out.
Wow. The fuck is Chili Tavern?
Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, can I go first? Can I?
Well, go first. Do I explain what Chili's Tavern is?
No, you let me.
Okay, you're the host.
No, I'm not the host. So don't make up fake news. Okay, so a lot of people in the last couple of weeks been bitching. Yes, and I say bitching about other community members, including Chili here, creating other Discords and, inviting people from the community over to the Discord. I've been at Chili's, I've been at role-playing, servers for Ashes, I've been in a bunch of other Ashes servers, so I'm not just at Chili's. And I don't get why these people are complaining. I don't get it. I think it's idiotic, it's moronic. Are there any other words for calling people stupid?
Ones that we can't say on Twitch.
Imbeciles.
Yes, damn it. Imbeciles. They're imbeciles. And I don't get this because honestly, it's a nice place. The other Discord's a nice place, but I want to state I know why people decide to move to other Discords. Yeah. So Chili, why don't you say something before I start rage quitting on everybody?
Okay. So Chili's wasn't set up to steal anybody from anything. It was set up to be agnostic from everything. This is the spot where you can come and shake off your guild, shake off your tie to Ashes. Granted, it is established because of Ashes. It will exist within Ashes, and that is its foundation. But what goes on in the tavern is like if you go to the local tavern or pub at your own place, nobody tells you what you can talk about. Nobody tells you what you can or can't do. Now, granted, there are rules and regs to say, don't abuse people, don't say the wrong things, don't post illegal stuff, etc. That's a common ground for everyone. But that's the point, is it's a common ground. So you can come and find and talk to people who enjoy the game you're playing, right? So I'm not a Fortnite fan, but there are people who are, yet I still like to maybe watch them. Well, that's difficult in my guild to go do and see because they're not Fortnite people, right? But I can come over here and find that commonality with, let's say, BCG, who's from a different guild. So when it was formed, it's still under the premise of, hey, you guys, this is a common place where you can have that communication that's not going to bind you up necessarily when you're stuck in your guild or when you're stuck in the Ashes Discord or wherever. But it's not dump them and don't go talk there. I've never said quit their Discord, by no means. For example, Ashes, we need to be there supporting that if that's the game we support. Everybody listening here and everybody talking with us may or may not be backing Ashes. But that's the whole thing, is Chili's can't allow you to come and talk about Fortnite or PUBG or whatever it is your thing is, and you can do your stream or your podcast on that and enjoy some great conversation, banter, etc.
Chili, one second, if I could interject. I wanted to get into this because I'm not a mod anymore, guys. All right. First of all, anybody that's bitching, shut the fuck up. Okay? There are thousands of fucking Discords. If you have a problem with someone created a community Discord that has nothing to do with it, please uninstall Discord and stop playing this game and just refund right now.
I mean, I get why people are obsessed because and this is
no, you don't. That's a stupid thing to say. Don't get it. It's nothing to get.
Let me freaking finish my sentence. God damn it, or I ban you this time.
Oh, go ahead.
I think I get why people are upset because if you go back 1 year, the Discord is not the same. In early 2017 till later 2017, the Discord has been in a completely different place. We've been talking about Ashes, completely different environment. And I blame that. Okay, this is a double-edged sword. For on the one side, I'm really happy that the game is growing, that the community is growing at such a pace compared to like a year ago. But also, it just causes a lot of weird people to show up. People that cause issues, that make the Discord an unfriendly place. And I have this from other people because I'm still on the Discord every day. And yes, I call certain people edgelords and actually push them back when they're being freaking negative and talking down to people because that sort of behavior pisses me off. And a bunch of people that I actually joined with back in the day when in 2017 that joined after me that are friends of mine, they're not longer coming on the Discord because they're like, why should I go there? And I mean, a lot of people moved to for example, Chili's or the European RP server because of that reason.
All right, the BCG, and this is pretty simple here. To Saro's point, he's exactly right. You're going to have 100,000 different Discord servers out there, and you're going to find your niche where you want to spend your time and be with friends, whether it's with Ashes or a hybrid of games. If you don't like the rule set associated with Ashes, I get that. That's okay. That's your prerogative. But that's the set that's provided by Intrepid and is enforced to a T. It's light moderation. We're a bunch of adults, and we're pretty accepting overall in the scope of who's allowed there. Saro can tell you we've been there. We've kind of pushed and said, hey, should we consider being a little bit more strict on X, Y, Z, for example? But the reality at the end of the day is we enforce the vision that comes through Intrepid to a T. If we don't, then that's the problem. But it is adult oriented in some regards. Obviously, certain individuals should not be in there pushing porn and talking about edgelord topics, as we have a few people, but eventually they strike out and they're gone.
Yeah, like there were many times where I would push the envelope, so to speak, and I would ban somebody. I was like, I'm gonna get in trouble. Steven's gonna yell at me because they're toxic as hell. Like, get the fuck out. But like, I would get in trouble because I'm not supposed to.
They're still on the Discord.
I know, but like here now to the topic itself, if people really have a problem with Chili's Discord, if it's what you're explaining, Chili, everything that you've said is what it is. Okay, I want you to have a problem with the Discord we're currently in, which is BCGs. This is another Discord that has nothing that's about Ashes of Creation, but it's a community. You can also have a problem with the OCE one, the EU one, the NA one, with the guild leadership one, and there's like 17 other ones. So
I wouldn't exactly be jealous of the OCE one.
I mean, I don't even know if it's still there, but because I mean, was it ever really
has
there?
like 30 people.
It's a mythical place. It's just like
Chili,
Australia.
Chili, all I want to ask is, where'd you get the idea for Chili's Tower?
So, okay, I'm old. Everybody, shut up. Especially those of you who know my name, know me in real life. So, in that, when I say that, what I mean is I have been part of the MMO community as it's grown at the birth of all of it till now, right? So when I came to Ashes, as you know, Bell, I just started doing the RP a little bit, talking about the tavern in the game, because hell, I finally get a game where I can do something like that, where I can make that community in the game. I'm thinking, okay, that's cool. And then I get invites to other people's Discords and guilds and stuff, DMs, while I'm on Ashes. And I'm looking at it, and what pops into my head is, well, hold on a second. Now, I either go to their Discord and I'm a guest, right? We've all done that. Or I go to their Discord and I join in, and now I'm kind of expected to be there, or I'm part of, hey, become part of my guild. And now I'm shoehorned into that same scenario every time. Now, Ashes Ashes Discord isn't that, because it's guild agnostic too. It's where we can all chat. But everybody wants, hey, Chili, come be part of this so that I can also enjoy all that, and I get shoehorned into that one thing. And as you all know, I've joined in messing with Mutiny because I don't have JSF, that's a guild that I've had for 10 years, represented in the alpha, beta stages, or even possibly when the game releases. I can't guarantee they're all going to sign on, but I still want to run with someone. So I picked one, and what it is, whatever. Now they know and can talk to the fact that Chili's will exist there, guild agnostic. That character will not be in a guild. I might play another character that's going to be in the guild so I can enjoy that portion of the game, because there's a big portion I'll miss out on. So I'm sitting there, okay, so back to the subject. I'm stuck where I actually lose a big chunk of the community I enjoy chatting with, unless I strictly stick into just Ashes. And then, by rights, we should be talking about Ashes, etc. But it's like, well, hold on. What if we want to go off in NSFW or go talk shit about some group in Fortnite, or do the things that might be moderated elsewhere? And this has been an issue that's obviously plagued all of us, and there's been a lot of separation, and everybody's got their own little island to sit on. So the idea came to me, well, what if we had an island that was agnostic, that anybody and everybody could join? It's a very difficult subject, by the way, because it's public. And it's public meaning not if you're an Ashes fan, it's public like any fan. So there's a little more effort that goes into it by that stake. But it's definitely a place where everybody can come, relax, let their hair down, enjoy, talk about whatever subject. Obviously,
right. I still don't get what the issue
is. Don't be rude
though.
and wrong. Don't troll. I'm going to get you if you do.
Okay. With that
key here,
understanding,
Chili,
though, there was a
here
point.
is that you are building a community that is not attached to one game and is not attached to a guild. So what's the harm? All the guilds are going to have their Discords. You're just building a common guild, focused discussion platform. I have one myself. I do it for all the people that I used to game with.
I think the issue is that some people have is that a lot of the more active Ashes of Creation members from the community, from the Discord, are also really active, more active now on Chili's Discord. I think that's where the issue came from.
Seriously, so what?
Nobody owns anybody.
I know, don't tell me. I'm just saying.
I think that's healthy for the community. It gives us more room
It
to
really
grow.
is.
If the main Ashes Discord reached like 100,000 people, the chat would scroll so fast that you couldn't read it.
Let me address something here. Can I interject? So, at the root, at the foundation, it was still set up to introduce everybody who shows up to a particular game, not guild, game, and that is Ashes. So if anybody, and I know everybody in this conversation and watching online has been there, they see the giveaways that I do. They're not backed by Ashes or IS, excuse me. They're not backed by any other game company / product, whatever. It is strictly backed by me, and the bulk of everything that I do is an Ashes pack giveaway, because I'm trying to bring non-Ashes people into that community for my part and say, hey, check out this really cool game that's going to happen. Now, that might be a direct attack by some people on WoW or Final Fantasy or whatever the other game is. I'm sorry, not my intent. But really, if you're going to ask me my opinion, yes, I'd rather you came from that and went to Ashes, and therefore I'm not going to give you a World of Warcraft add-on package or whatever. That's my choice. I back the whole thing. I am going to give away, as everybody knows, on the 30th, a much larger pack for Ashes, because I'm trying to drive that community toward a really cool game. That is my prerogative, but I also back my own shit, and I don't promote anything, meaning my own guild or any of that type of stuff. It's just not something you're ever going to see. I don't want anybody to leave Ashes Discord. I want them to find it. I want everybody from other games to say, hey, come check out this really cool tavern. Oh, what is this Ashes they're talking about? What is this Ashes they're talking about? And then land over there as well and start seeing the game. And that has happened. People who have never had packs have packs now. People who didn't know about the game have bought into it and seen it, are checking out. We have grown that community. And it's a little bit that we've done. That's fine. But that's the goal over the next year, is to keep trying to build that as a funneling place. This is my preference, funneling place toward Ashes. I won't stop you if you funnel through to your own guild, do it in DMs, or toward WoW. I'm not going to say yes or no to that. I'm not going to say, hey, we only talk about Ashes here. It's not like
that. You see the comment that's in Twitch from Digital Prowler? He hit one of my points perfectly here. As soon as Ashes launches, how many people are honestly going to be in there talking about the game? They're going to be sequestered off into their own little communities or their own guild-focused discords where everybody shares the same opinion or view or focus. So, I mean, it's just the natural evolution of that type of server.
No.
Now, during the actual launch, when it's released, the tavern will exist in the game. They will continue to be doing handouts and giveaways, etc., through the life of the game as long as I'm running the tavern. So I don't care if people go. I don't care if they take off to their own guilds and do their own thing. Those who also want to participate in the tavern in-game / in the Discord will still continue to be part of the tavern and reap the rewards therefore, which is still that big communal, anti-guild, come let your hair down, chill out, share the story, talk about what's going on, and not have to worry about that stuff. So it will continue. We'll see where the community goes after launch, because I agree, those things do often.
I'm surprised this was an issue or a topic to begin with.
I actually agree with that.
Like, I'm over here like, what?
There's a reason
I found it funny that some of the people who complained that Chili's Tavern exists and that we pulled players away from the community were the same people who were complaining that so many of us were in there and posting too many things in the first place.
I want to say something. Two things. Guilds are still stupid in my eyes. And secondly, I even if the game launches, at least for me, I shall be active on every Discord I am active right now for Ashes of Creation because I'm a player. Continue.
How are you a player if you don't even play?
I play video games every day. That makes me a player.
Don't lie. All you play is Overwatch.
He's a poser.
I have not played Overwatch in 2 seasons, so go fuck yourself. I'm playing.
That reminds me, I need to get that anniversary skin.
Oh.
Just log in and hop off.
Yeah, guys, podcast is over. I need to download something.
Alright, bye.
Okay.
Alright.
Anybody want to add something? Or
spin the wheel.
Okay.
Spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel. Yeah. Okay. Jesus Christ, that was a bad idea with the wheel. Spinning.
Spin.
Land on bankrupt.
Moo topic.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's Moo.
Oh, let's go.
Choose an amusing one.
Oh, I will.
Choose something I can rage about. I'm in a rage mood right now.
In a rage mood? Okay.
Give me something to bite on.
We got them all riled up.
There's a lot to pick from, honestly.
I know, it's a long ass freaking list. I did not think that we would get a list this long. This was not planned.
Some of that was not
okay. Let's fucking do it. Was the Guild Summit a bad idea?
Oh, here we go.
Why
don't you ask you next?
Oh god. Boom. Guild Summit. Okay.
Wait, did you say
I have
what?
No idea about it.
I missed the question.
Okay,
was the Guild Summit a bad idea?
Yeah.
Was the Guild Summit a bad idea?
Go ask Shunix.
Talk over, move on.
Okay, I take this one.
Spin the wheel.
The idea, I always like the idea of, like, it doesn't have to be a guild summit, alright? It has to be just a summit. You know, gathering of people every month or every 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know, whenever. And, you know, we talk about Ashes, like we're doing right now. I like that idea. The Guild Summit, the idea behind the Guild Summit and the topics in the Guild Summit, I find that was a freaking crash burn, jump off a cliff into a freaking, I don't know, a zoo full of lions and raptors, you know, disaster.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the idea of community stuff. Always, you know, getting the community together, do stuff. I like that. That's
BCG.
No.
My friends, everybody in here. Bell, I'm no longer a mod. You're welcome to ban me when I say this. Listen, guys. When the Guild Summit was introduced, there was only one person who organized it, and they bailed at the last minute. So speak with them about it.
Ooh.
Shots fired.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, you know.
The only reason it crashed and burned is because they bailed. So let it be.
Anybody want to say anything about it? Except
Spin
me?
the wheel. Spin the wheel.
God, you guys are a bunch of pussies.
Spin the wheel and avoid the topic.
Bunch of freaking...
I don't even know about the guild tournament, so it's hard to make a comment.
Let me...
It's probably for the best, to be honest.
It was so long ago now.
Trust me, it's not what we're talking about. We lose brain cells when we talk about it.
Alright, I'm spinning. God damn it. Spinning.
We got them all excited just to let them down like that.
Belly, now you have to check the list.
How about you just give me a fucking topic and we'll talk about it?
No, nobody give her a topic. There is a list. We worked hard on that list. She needs to pick one.
No one gave me the list.
I don't have a list.
Bell, come up with a topic.
You're on the
Some other in-game suggestions. Sorry, to the rescue.
Sorry, pick a topic. Jesus.
No, you.
This list is too fucking long.
Oh, okay. Fuck it. I'll pick another topic.
Thanks, Dev.
Okay.
Bell, be meta.
Wow. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. See you guys. Okay. So rumors around the purchase of Daybreak Games, benefits, fallbacks. Let's go.
Daybreak.
This again.
Daybreak.
Alright.
I don't even know why that's an issue.
Well, yeah, like
it's not an issue. It's a topic. It's not an issue. It's a topic.
Yeah, because I've heard, and not only from like Ashes, but from others who have been like around in the gaming community, but not just as gamers, but who have been looking at like companies, looking at what they do and whatnot. And if I'm not mistaken, Daybreak were the ones that were making EverQuest next, right?
Right.
Well,
correct. They were, yeah.
They bought the ones making EverQuest next.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also the IP holders for every EverQuest title.
Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, EverQuest Next had a lot of the same like gameplay aspects, such as the like evolving cities and shit like that. And if Steven were to get his hands on those IPs and all that data, I would assume that would be like essentially getting rid of half the work for Ashes, because he would have the information and he would have the manpower, not only from
Manforce,
not only from the whole idea of like getting extra staff, but most of the work would already be done. I would think.
I get that.
We've actually talked about that, Okies and I, and there's pros and cons to both sides of it. I think on the pro side, yes, the assets, the IP, the engine parts. On the con side, distractions, takeaways. Does it hinder the current development? I am on the side of no, it wouldn't, because I think Steven is pretty smart, knows how to deal with those types of things. I think that if he were, because this is all speculation, to pick up those developers / IP, it would be to obviously grow the company, grow its IP, earn more money. That's proper. It's a business. Do the right thing. And it would not stop or distract from why and who and why he is doing Ashes. That is a personal deep goal. And while by very, very minor, like one millionth, the tavern is like that for me, it's a goal. I'm not going to let it go easily. This is a much bigger deal for him because, financial investment, real life goals, so on and so forth. And if I feel like that about the tavern, I got to imagine he feels, how many times more about the Ashes game and its birth and that whole thing. So I think it would be a benefit to add that IP, to bring in that group of programmers, give them a new light of day, make them feel better, and see what it does to enhance the Ashes solution, and or maybe revitalize some of those games that can be brought in as IP too. All speculation.
This does.
Go ahead.
This does fold into another comment people make, like when people need to stop listening to other people in the Discords and stuff. When they said that they were looking at purchasing stuff, it doesn't mean they were going to buy the whole company and then make another game. If Steven was going to get that stuff, he'd probably fold it into the company to work on it, on Ashes. And buying out IP and stuff's not new. Activision, EA, and all that do it all the time. They buy whole companies just to access their IP.
He has already stated that it's Intrepid Studios Ashes is just one focus of that group.
Yes.
So there is a future ahead that includes more than just Ashes. So he focused on Daybreak to acquire talent. That's natural. That's exactly. They knew that they were going to grow as they expanded to their new facility, and they're looking to progress the game of Ashes. So that talent was acquired for that purpose. If they're going to buy out a company in its entirety, I really don't think that he would keep the spin on, because let's look at what Daybreak has to offer. It's really not that much. It's certainly nothing that I myself as a gamer would be targeting to play. So what would be the benefit of acquiring all of that in the long run?
Agreed.
Exactly. I was going to say, because I actually come from playing, EverQuest and all of that background, so I'm familiar with SOE and then the Daybreak takeover as
Medley.
you will. Yeah, exactly. Smedley as well. Let's not even talk about that. But no, you guys got to also remember a lot of the Intrepid Studios team actually comes from SOE or Daybreak as well, right? So you get even the bigger hitters, like you got Jeff, you got Bacon, you have almost all of their lead guys are from either SOE or Daybreak as a whole, right? So they'll understand what the company actually has that Steven could even want, whether it be the the stuff from EverQuest Next, or just the people itself. They know the good programmers, they know the good guys that would work well with Steven's vision and Steven's kind of overall culture that he wants to have in Intrepid Studios. I mean, they've talked about how they've sat down with guys that are great programmers or great designers, but they don't fit well with the company structure in the sense of how they do things, on how they want to wear multiple hats and help each other out in certain things. They're more used to being separated and doing following whoever else is like the lead of that project. They're not always going to be as fluid as what the Intrepid Studios has been. So I mean, with that being said, chances are, if Intrepid was to take anything from Daybreak, it would be the people. Chances are it won't be the other IP.
I mean, one of the major. Oh, sorry for interrupting.
The point there was not the IP itself; it's the assets that they want, if anything, because those assets can be translated into the game. Those parts are just benefiting the game.
It could even perhaps be some of the back-end engine work that Planet side was running. I mean, the PvP battles on that were incredibly huge scale. So it could even be some of that stuff that they were after.
Yeah, that's some of the large scale shit that works really good.
You need to get talent when it's available on the market, and it just so happened that Daybreak had talent that came to the market, just like Boston Games just had a bunch of people from their failed Radical Heights experiment. There's going to be acquisitions of talent across the board. Nobody's going to be a new hire unless you're at junior position. So where do you think they're going to come from?
Yeah, I mean, Activision brought up a big chunk of the player base, for the staff, when they axed the BioWare Montreal, because they saw talent and they wanted them.
Yeah, I mean, the smart thing to do is acquire the talent and the assets, right? I mean, you're not going to do something, and Steven said so himself, and there's people that moan on whether or not they believe him, but at the end of the day, I mean, Chili had it right. This is his dream. He's not going to do anything to mess up his dream. He's not going to bring people in that are going to work against what he wants to do with Ashes of Creation, right? So
exactly.
And honestly, I mean, I don't think he would ever acquire other IPs that would distract his team from Ashes.
So Ashes,
I mean, that's just a dumb decision to begin with that no one in their right mind would make.
We've been listening to Steve talking about Ashes for more years than I can actually tell you. This is his brainchild and his passion. It's going to be his central focus.
And I'm going to bet that was birthed in his as an idea well before 4 years ago. As a member of the MMO community, he was thinking this up for a decade. I know how to operate, and I'm sure he's better at it than
Spin the wheel, bitch.
Spin the wheel.
I couldn't add my full comment to it just because it jumps into another topic when we come up to it.
There's a bunch of topics that intervene that I've been I'm gonna wait for when we talk about this.
Okay, spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel.
Spin it.
Saru moaning.
No, that's depressing.
Again?
Rip.
I don't know.
Wait, were you already?
No, I wasn't.
Oh.
Let us look at this big list provided by BCG with 45 questions.
I did not provide anything on that list.
I'm surprised you fucking counted them all.
I didn't. I just assumed it was about 45. All right. Since everybody wants to talk about it, but nobody wants to poke at it, does light moderation still work?
No. Next topic.
Honestly,
Spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel. I think Bell and I would probably have a lot of input on that, and not differing, but also different opinions. I personally don't think light moderation works only because of the gaming universe. Humans suck. Okay, there. All of us, including me and all of you on this,
yep.
We all suck. So we end up toxic. We end up pissy because our dog ate our homework or whatever. We get on chat and then we start taking it out on people. So I think a little bit heavier moderation is required at times. You got to take them aside or remove them if they're being cancerous, or they just ruin the day for the greater group of individuals. It's a tough thing to deal with for any moderator, for any guild leader, etc., but it has to happen to some degree, or you end up in a scenario where the stuff falls apart, everybody's leaving because they don't like it, and the greater good is just hurt. That's my opinion.
So,
what do you think?
All right, here's the thing. With the light moderation, it can work. You have to have a set core group of roles that are your balance, and there has to be hardcore lines drawn in the sand. So if you have somebody that's coming in there and talking about things that go far beyond, hey, I'm an edgelord, look at me, and start looking at things that are actually damaging or, extreme, then you have to take action, and then you have, as Intrepid, you need to back up your moderators with the decisions that get made in that regards to help manage the community. Currently with Ashes, we do have some people that are edgelords, and they love to bring in those risky topics, so to speak. But at the end of the day, it's this Discord. It doesn't impact your game account. It doesn't impact your forums account. If you get banned on one platform, it's one platform only.
I disagree on that part. It worked. The light. This is my personal opinion. I feel like, I don't know. Lately, I feel like you always have to say it's your personal opinion because people lose their freaking shit if you phrase something in a certain way. When the Discord first started and we were still small, light moderation, that was nice. It was easy going. It was fun. I feel like right now it got to a point where certain people overtake the Discord too often, and it just shines an overall bad light on the community. And we have this happen before when certain members went on freaking rage trains, using phrases and words that should never be used on a public game Discord or any sort of forum, and they only got timed out and they were back a couple hours later.
I think Ashes is getting a bit of a reputation outside of the Ashes community as being a community of very helpful, very mean people.
Have you been to Blessed Discord? Hello.
You've been in Chronicles of Illyria? You have a different opinion, they ban you from the Discord.
I mean, this is my opinion, if we do not do something soon to, how we moderate the Discord, as soon as we get closer to the game and more people jump on the Discord and more certain type of people jump on the Discord, it's going to be a train wreck. At least my personal opinion, I
disagree. And honestly, I think that we stay the course, and it comes down, we do need a community manager. That is something that Saru, I know you can reflect as well. Someone that, as a moderator, we can turn to when there are those difficult cases, or when we need action that's taken. Trying to turn towards one person who's also the president at a company, the creative director, wearing all these hats, it's difficult. So if it's not an extreme issue, it's gonna be slow to respond.
All right, so I actually want to jump in on this. I'm a moderator for a subreddit, and that comes with a Discord as well. And we started off small with also light moderation. And actually, when we became to grow more and more, we
quickly realize that light moderation is for some groups of people. But once you start growing, you get people from other communities in yours as well. And you really start to see that light moderation does not work on some people. You need to be quick and fast when you want to ban certain people or tell them to stop doing this, because they might then bring in more friends from the other communities. And before you know it, you have a cesspool of trolls or edgelords that just want to raid your Discord over and over.
Let me add to that comment. And what I find when that happens, you get 1 or 2 or let's say 4 of these past the edgelord, more troll-like people. It only takes them a couple of minutes, and only a few of them, 2, 3, or 4, to ruin an entire chat scenario for 400 other people or 4,000 other people. Now, I'm not saying that light doesn't work well. I'm not taking. I'm not on the other side of the fence from your portion of this. What I find is it takes few to screw it up for everybody, and it takes everybody to try to maintain that thing for the few, and that's tough because
the thing about it is keep in mind, look how small the moderator team was for the previous weeks before we added a couple folks, but after there was the changeover of moderators and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm a robot. Sure, okay, but I actually sleep. And only Lex doesn't sleep. The man sleeps like 3 hours a night. Diara has, she's been AFK and stuff like that. So we're not going to see everything that happens, but alerting us and stuff like that when it does, it helps. We have more people now, but I think the key is that taking action when it's appropriate, not turning a blind eye, don't having any bias, etc. Saru, you know this firsthand. How hard was it carrying dead weight?
Well, thank you, Belle. I hate my life. Listen, the reason I did not come back was because of that. As much as I love staying up and staring at a screen for 16 hours, because you never know what's going to come. Like, it happened for every day. It was Shonix and me that dealt with it he would deal with 12 hours and I would do 12 hours. We had like a check-in time, just him and I, because we didn't anybody else didn't really work out. They didn't really do anything. And I'm not going to say who, but they didn't really help. And then Bell got into it. And so we were able to like split those hours. And then Shonix left, so we were able, it was just a crazy thing. And then Lex came, and I don't know. I've been a community manager and I've been a community moderator. I've been a mod for Ashes for 1.5 years, and I've seen how it works behind the scenes. And I crossed the line, and the lines that mods wouldn't even consider crossing. Lines such as not lines like bad lines, but like I'm not supposed to ban someone, but I banned them because I was in voice chat and they come in and start screaming, "Sorry, you're an N-word," like just screaming at the top of their lungs, and ban them. And then bring another account, ban them again. Like 12 times I had to ban an alternate account. To where a lot of the mods didn't ban because it was, against what Steven wanted. And those guidelines that we have, they're good. I know because I wrote them, but there's no real like rules for mods right now. At least not since I left. So I'm not really sure if anything has changed. I can't really speak on that behalf, but I know that there's light moderation, but the majority of the time, based on the interpretation of the rules that we got as mods, is basically use your judgment. If they deserve a ban, and it's immediate access, ban them. If they need to be kicked, kick them. Most of the time, just time them out. And people had, the mods had to learn how to time people out. So I made a video for it and did all this stuff. And it was never enough. And it was only like 3 of us out of 8 people. And, it just gets tiring. I'm sure the new mods will help. And I wish them the best.
I mean, at the end of the day, moderation is not an easy job, right? And I think we all have strong opinions one way or the other in terms of light moderation. I mean, back in the day, like when IRC was a thing, Discord was a gleam in somebody's eye, maybe, in about 10 years after that. I did do some modding for City of Heroes, and it is a thankless job. I mean, you get people, even back then, right? Communities could get pretty toxic. And, you know, it was a balance that you had to strike. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think this is more a reaction to some of the negativity that's coming into the channel. And you know, one of Steven's big goals, right, is to build a community. And communities, you're going to have heroes and villains. But at the end of the day, you should at least, you know, from a respect standpoint, lay down the hammer. And I think if it is just a limited amount of people, that's a lot to take on. And I don't think there should be an expectation that, you know, mods that aren't doing anything should be carried, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if they signed up for that job, they need to do it.
There's a job set to it, the Daedalus, and there's expectations to it that there are guidelines. You know, if you're not doing it, then you get replaced, and that should be the case. I'm not saying it always is, but that should be the rule of the land.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head with the community manager bit. I mean, you know, Steven and the team are great, and they work extremely hard. I mean, I know Steven is constantly, you know, working through the weekend, through the night. So having that community piece on his shoulders as well, I mean, it's a lot for him to handle and stay focused on, you know, making a game that everybody is going to love, right? So I think
you're the perfect one to ask here, though, because look, we're talking about just the moderation side. A lot of people may not know this, but I also come from the game side as well, from doing admin work with Turbine, a couple other games and things like that. This is not restrictive just to moderation. Let's look at the customer service side of things. If you guys could see some of the tickets that I received back at Turbine, people are angry online for no reason. BCG, you kind of alluded to this earlier.
I'm not angry. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not angry at all.
Why don't you shut the fuck up, Salt Lord? Anyways, but like, people are angry online and they just want to unleash. It could be something so simple as, hey, I put the code in wrong and I screwed up my account. Can you help me? That's how simple you can ask the question. It's no, your fucking game is shit. Everything's shit. Everything's broken. Nothing works. That's the message that gets sent over. So, I mean, people are brutal.
Yeah, and whoever's watching this, if you have community management expertise or experience, and you live in the San Diego area, or you want to go live there, I mean, they're hiring, to my knowledge at least, and, you know, they are looking for someone to carry that title that'll actually take care of it. But, I mean, it's not easy. CMs are meat shields. Both CMs in terms of mod and managers, they are meat shields. You know, they'll take the shit from anybody and try to turn it into gold for you. You know, you would like, your game is shit. They'd be like, well, we apologize that the game is not for you. You need to turn it around completely and try to make it sound positive. You need to be like, like great at that. And
but what do you really?
It does get to you. Yeah.
Deathfire, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. Well, couple of things, and then I gotta dip out. I got my interview to go to. What so we're just saying about the community manager experience. I've seriously considered it because I did do some community management before on an indie title on Steam that I used to work on for world building and stuff. And the only people on like the actual team itself were me, a programmer, and the creator doing all of like the animation, the art, and stuff. Yeah. It's really, really brutal. It's a very brutal job, especially if you're community manager and moderator and doing other things. A lot of hours to put in. I remember only getting 3 hours sleep a night. And then we even had like the really special policy to mirror our customers. So if your customer is angry at you, you get angry back. So that turned into a shit show really quick every time. But yeah, other than that, like I'm just saying that like I understand like where you guys were coming from on the Ashes side, to where like you did have like guidelines and stuff, but there were no like concrete rules, or like there was just the exhaustion of just having to deal with so many things for so many hours.
For sure.
I don't know. It's not that bad with Ashes, to be honest. At least sitting in my seat, Sarah will be the first to tell you that I don't watch the Discord as much as some of the other mods. My focus is on other things. But at the same time, from what I see, this is minor. The game hasn't even fucking launched yet. Shit. Just wait. That's what's gonna matter.
That's why I brought up earlier is that like the politics that are already there. It's like, geez, and then like I'm just imagining later on when the game actually does launch. That's why I'm not too worried about like the larger Zero guilds, because especially if it's some of the guilds that are doing the politics now, I'm definitely not worried about them later on.
I know there are ways to make it carry weight though. Being able to tie, if we can, the Discord to our accounts will make people like think twice before opening their mouths. Some things.
Sorry,
I know from being.
I got to dip out. Thanks for having me, you guys. I'll see you later.
Thanks,
bye.
Thanks.
Like an integration, okay? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I know from being admin and a mod on other Discords that some Discords, when you're doing it lightly, it works. The problem is when that line in the sand is far enough back that they think they can get away with things over and over again. Some people I know have said that people have gone past that line and now they're not coming into the community anymore because of those said people. That's where I think the line should be moved a little bit more forward.
But it's not just that, it's also the bias towards players, right? There's some people that won't attack certain other... Like, I've seen it, I'm sure you guys have seen it, where some people, let's say person A does something that's against the rules and the mod takes care of him or her. Person B does the exact same thing and the mod just jokes around and ignores it. It's a different mod.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
We know that point. Remember, we're from Mutiny.
Precisely. So, I mean, I
rage firsthand.
Exactly. Like there was a lot of things against, like even Mutiny. Like I was fine with Mutiny. I mean, they memed, I memed, we all memed, even though some of them might have not liked me. But anyway,
you wrote a Twitter post and called them a meme.
I said they were a meme. Yeah, I stick back by it.
But on that point too, like, this is where we pointed out too. We noticed with specific people, just giving them tags like the Mutiny tag changed the way people spoke to them.
Yeah,
and like that's some of the stuff with Chili's Tavern, what we were removing by having Chili's Tavern, because that was happening a lot. But even just someone started the rumor that I was going to be a mod, and I told people calm down because I'd probably ban half the Discord. So, but that happened, and I got the amount of DMs and backlash I copped with just a rumor. I can only.
Okay, first of all, do you know the amount of rumors, like the one that I was in love with the previous CM and then we were caught so she was fired, and I was like, wow, damn.
Wait, what?
What I mean
was so many.
Wait, so
just the hate I copped would be foreshadowing for how much you guys copped as moderators.
Sour question. So, whose wedding invitation did I get in the mail last week?
I don't know. Pretty mine.
Fake news.
But that's the thing, like that comes from the player side, and it is weird. I gotten a lot of messages of like, oh, this guy joined this guild, I don't really want to talk to him. It's like, but why? I mean, yes, a person can be a representative of a guild, and usually when the person is, I guess we're kind of off topic, but when a couple of people are representing that guild as a certain way, everybody else is conceiving the notion that the rest of the people are like that, and it's not necessarily true.
On a double down on that, I think some people are also looking at it the other way, where some people in those guilds have been boasting that they're untouchable, and that's something that has been coming up. That's the issue too.
Right.
There's no one.
But that's just them. That's them boasting. It's not no facts. It's just they're idiots.
No one in this Discord that is untouchable. If you
we know that.
You're in trouble. BCG, spin that fucking wheel, dude.
No.
Yeah.
Spin
the wheel.
God, Jesus.
I feel like you went to the kitchen, got a drink,
Do the thing.
had some popcorn.
I'm spinning.
His kitchen is behind him. Have you seen his apartment?
Really?
Oh, can I have the letter R?
Yes, sure.
No? Oh, shoot. I should have gone for a vowel. So what are my topic choices?
There's a list in the chat.
There's a list.
Okay, I'm going to randomly point at one. Oh, haha. What are some of the things content creators can do to help build the community? Let me expound upon that. What can they do to help build the community outside of the existing Ashes of Discord, Ashes of Creation? and the Discord community, so that we can bring people from other games, from outside of just all of us talking to each other again. How can we get the creators to help with that?
I don't know. Say anything to the topic.
I'll say it. Fuck it. So it's pretty simple. There's a lot that's going to be going on with the content creator program for those members who are currently engaged. I know that we have a large applicant pool of interested candidates. Please bear with me. We are working through that. But as we start to launch the program and actually, Chili, quit vaping. Jesus.
Sorry.
As we start to implement more of the things that become available to the content creator programs to help drive the growth of the community, some of those things are going to be reaching out outside when they're in other games, or doing plugs or giveaways and things like that. That's when it's really going to matter. Right now, you're kind of restricted to word of mouth. You're streaming other games, you're playing or creating videos for other games, kind of dropping that subtle plug for Ashes because it's better than the shit game you're playing right now, or things like that. That helps.
I think I should say something about this. So I am an official content creator. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I know.
No way.
I think they were drunk when they decided to pick me up.
I was. Sorry.
Yeah, there you go. The thing is, if you look at my YouTube channel, you will notice really, really quickly that every video I did before I did videos about Ashes are really, really bad. Just bad. And the reason I decided to actually get back into streaming, get into YouTube, and actually, the reason I decided to start this podcast is, to get people interested in Ashes, share information about Ashes, and keep them interested, because there were not a lot of things going on during Prime EU times for Ashes. There's a lot of podcasts, Agilas, they do all great podcasts, but there's nothing really for the European folks. So if you're a content creator, in my eyes, this is my opinion, if you're a content creator and you want to do something for Ashes, just start somewhere with whatever you want to do. If it's just a Twitter post, Instagram post, or even if you want to do crappy videos like I do. And trust me, I have no talent in video editing. I don't sound like Truth. I don't sound like Proxy. I don't have the best hardware.
It's not your videos, BCG. It's your effort and the focus that you put on the game that makes the difference and really showcase you as an early adopter for somebody that grows the community. That's why you were selected.
So if you have passion for the game, if you're a content creator, just start. Go up to your grandma and be like, "Hey, grandma, there's this great game. I know you're 95 and you cannot see."
Use that referral link.
Let me use a real life example here, okay? We have a member who has done some fantastic work. They're not the biggest creator out there, but their focus is almost solely on Ashes. They've kind of branched out to other games as they're waiting and kind of growing their channel, and that's Makanoji. You see him putting out content almost twice per week. The guy is passionate about Ashes, and it's the people like him that really start to breed within the community and grow with a positive focus. They make a difference. They don't have to have 1 million viewers to make the difference. It's what the message they spread that reaches out.
That's true. And two things, BCG. Bell, some shade to you. BCG, at least you... How do I put this? I'm trying to put this nicely, Bell. BCG, at least at least it was your choice to be an official content creator. Just gonna leave that out there for interpretation. Secondly, Makanoji is my husbando, man. I love that motherfucker. Love him.
He's watching.
I know.
I already told him we love him.
Well, this is what I would call a proposal. Makanoji, what is your answer?
I mean, I want to say a bit about Mackie, because I started out this in Sons of the Seven with Mackie, and he and I both had a passion for Ashes, and I saw what he was doing, and he inspired me. And he also was, along with my wife, the foot in my ass to actually get me out there and content creating. And so if I have to say anything that content creators can do to, grow the community, is support each other. That's not just, getting people, talking about the game. I mean, that's kind of default, right? It's going in and supporting your fellow creators, spotlighting them when you can, guesting on their podcasts, on their shows, and reciprocating with, you know, guest spots on your shows, and really bring people in, you know, cross promote, anything you can do to get the word out. Because at the end of the day, we're building a community here that looks at all aspects of the game, things we like, things we want to improve, and just get the voices out there. Because the one thing that really steams me, and it probably steams a lot of you on this, you know, on this discussion, is that there are people out there that don't know anything about the game, and they start throwing out garbage. And I'm not going to say that, you know, Ashes of Creation is perfect, right? There's going to be things we're going to disagree about and want to work to make better. But at the end of the day, you know, exposing the community to multiple points of view is only going to help the game get better, right? And kind of pull people out of, you know, just focusing on one or two content creators. Share with them that there's more opinions out there, so that you can get a good spectrum and people can make an informed decision on what they're, you know, what they're seeing, as opposed to just, you know, focusing on one person just because they're quote unquote popular.
Yep.
But I'm spreading the love for the game anyway. I hear people talking about they're not a fan of Bless because they don't like the way it's working,
Hey,
or they're leaving WoW.
Don't talk about cancer.
And I did a lean in, and I'm just like, have you heard of Ashes of Creation? Here's a card.
I mean, I've been thinking of doing content creation for a while, and I've asked around like other content creators, and they've all been really helpful, and I really appreciate that.
Just do it.
Like, gee.
Just do it. You cannot be any worse than I am. Just do it.
I don't know.
I'll be honest with you,
I think
when people approach me about being a content creator and they're in this smaller fraction of, you know, subs or followers and things like that, that's one of the first things that I recommend, is that they reach out and they talk to some of the current creators that are within the Ashes community to see how they succeeded, or to work collaboratively to help grow both channels. And it works. I mean, sure, they may not get along with everybody. I mean, let's take It's Ziz, for example, great content creator. I don't think I could ever see Ziz and BCG doing a show together. I just don't. You guys are both, you know, dominant personalities, and you just, you're not going to co-host.
You realize he was on the podcast, and I did a community plug with him just like a couple of weeks ago.
I mean,
someone doesn't
I was
watch.
probably drunk and wasn't watching. Imagine that.
I mean, there's also the difference, you know, why do you want to be a content creator? I want to be a content creator because, you know, I do like, you know, playing around a little bit with YouTube and stuff. And I also, you know, want to support the game any way I can. You know, and then you have people like this or Proxy, or, you know, they do Osaru even, that do this high end.
What?
Yes, you know, they do really good content. They have the equipment. They do have the voiceover. And you should not compare yourself with anybody. You know, you can go, like Bell said, reach out, talk to the content creators, talk to them. You know, ask them whatever you want to ask them, but do not compare yourself to anybody, because you should do your own thing. That's why people come and watch you. I'm not watching that content creator because he's just like the other one. I'm watching a content creator because it's him, it's himself. So if you want to start, do your own thing. Thumbs up. You're gonna have fun. I'm spinning the wheel now.
Okay,
Yay.
so Bell, quick question: could I become an official content creator if I just took like one episode, right?
No.
And just took like one topic that we have? I literally just pulled someone randomly out of the official Discord and just had an argument with them for like 30 minutes.
Creating content is not delineated based on being solely restricted to Ashes. We have people that have joined the program that have never done an Ashes video yet. It's about what you're going to do with the future, your experience past, and your current focus. And if your videos are shit and you're negative, and you don't really promote or put out something that is marketable, don't come talk to me, because if it's shit, it's shit. I'm not interested.
Oh, sorry. Kyle.
So how did BCG?
Hey.
Wait a minute, how did I get there? You and some bias.
There's
She
one of them
did.
that aren't
She didn't even
community
tell me.
creators who-
I didn't even apply. You guys want to know how it happened? I'm totally gonna get kicked off the off.
Hold on. And just to add to that, sir, first, and BCG does what I told him to do, and he got it.
Yeah,
I just want to
Not
state.
really.
I want to state.
Sorry.
I have the requirements to be in the program. My Twitter account has over 5,000 followers. So anybody who wants to flame me, go suck something.
Okay,
no,
let's start right there. Baseline requirements are a benchmark. It's like what you should be targeting. There are people that are within the program who are exceptional. They don't meet that baseline of just subs. BCG prior, for example, your efforts and things that you've done for the community, above and beyond. Jalen, for example, he doesn't meet the 5,000, but his content focus and what he's done for Ashes showcase him as a true content creator into the program by Steve's handpick. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, spinning the wheel.
Spin the wheel.
Why you do this?
I'm spinning.
Oh, damn, you didn't even let me.
Okay.
Yay! To double down on my comment I was making earlier, if I can find it. People not listening to every snake oil YouTuber that lies, and YouTubers with negative opinions that have been getting a lot of death threats and content attacks.
So you mean that one YouTuber?
No, there's actually a couple of them, but it's mainly the ones who shine because they're sourced by other companies on top of it.
Yeah, so we actually had a little discussion about this. So what I've been reading after what you said, I went to look, and there's actually like 3 or 4 like creators that from the start of the video really take a negative side to Ashes, and what they put off as arguments are really easy just to sweep under the rug and say, well, it's alpha, it's placeholders. It's all really easy counter arguments to hold them, but they still, in the comments later, they still keep on going after the fact that it looks shit, it's not original, and it's just like they don't do their own homework on the video, and then later off they make a 180 and do say, well, this game was actually amazing.
I can explain that. I can so explain that. Okay, so for those of you who do not know, I used to work in social media marketing. I used to work as a social media manager, community manager for a gaming studio. And it's an unwritten law in YouTube that if you are negative about something that other people are excited for, mostly for movies or, you know, series that come out or video games, you are going to have a higher percentage of interaction on your videos.
Controversy sells.
Exactly. For example, just to bring it back into my 4 walls, I did a video about Bless where I did not really talk negative about the game. I just pointed out, okay, I'm sad that the Warlock is on the game, and I pointed out that you know, the whole pay to win was phrased a little bit funny. That video, I never said the game sucks. I even said I'm looking forward to playing the game. I will play the game. That game has the most interaction of any of my videos. So I get why some people, you know, say certain things that are easily overthrown with, you know, statements that are well known within our community. You know, it's pre-alpha, you know, and all that stuff. If you watch one of these guys and you do not do your own research and you take one of these YouTubers as, you know, stating facts, then you should not be on the internet. That's my whole thing.
I mean, BCG, there's gonna be those streamers who put out negative reviews, and that's what drives their focus.
Yeah.
But let's look, and rest in peace, this guy Total Biscuit, amazing game reviewer, recently passed at a young age of cancer. But his videos were awesome in quality. I didn't find out about him until later. Check out his videos and stuff like that. There's always those 2 sides of the coin, and some people thrive off of that negativity versus some people build off the positive.
Yeah, and it's easier to build off the negativity. That's always the easiest.
The comment too.
The nightly news. The nightly news is all negative. It sells rating.
The comment with the snake oil with the YouTubers, some of it comes down to how they're doing it for the perception plus what they're involved in on the side. Like the example which Makanoji and a few people already DM'd me and said in the chat, Fever was one of the biggest ones brought up. He made a comment where he indirectly had a go at Ashes about the store, but then in the same video praised Crowfall, who has a worse pay-to-win model in the game than any other game I've seen. You know, it's that hypocrite part that is the issue now, where you can see where they're getting a benefit from another game, and then they're talking bad about Ashes.
Here's the thing, which I always find fascinating. None of these guys, none of these YouTubers, and I'm including myself in that matter, is we are no experts. We are no reporters. We are like no professional, you know, news people or, you know, game developers. So any of these guys that share their opinions, you know, they are just their freaking opinions. Because my opinion is that we should have it. I should get the ban hammer for a day and go nuts on the Discord. That is my personal opinion. So they have their fan base, and their fan base is blind. That is normal. They're like, oh my god, you're the greatest, you know everything, right? That doesn't mean he's right, you know. And if people that watch his videos and that are not following and not based on his community, and they take what any of these YouTubers say without doing their own research, because you just need to look like for half an hour. If you watch somebody's video and which is saying, okay, it's a bad game, the combat is bad, and you know it looks horrible, you just need to spend like 10 minutes on the Discord, and you're gonna learn, okay, it's pre-alpha, the combat has not been worked on. So I don't have a problem with these YouTubers. They still, you know, get traffic to Ashes. I have a problem with people just being idiots and believing these guys blind, because they're just like you and me. They're no experts. They're just, you know, YouTubers.
But the thing is, do we want these people in the community?
I mean, they're going to be there whether we want them there or not.
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
yeah,
right?
Some will, but I mean, it's not a thing like, are we going to defend the game to people that clearly have such a misconception about anything they see on the internet or whatnot?
There's a thing to that, though. Like, these people are the ones you're not going to see join the official program. They're not going to be partisan to the rewards. Like, Ashes of Creation is far different than Arcade's model on the content creator, because in Arcade, anyone could be a creator. They really loosely moderated that. They didn't pay a lot of attention to it. So you got a lot of people that were just there to get free loot. With Ashes, they're trying to focus in partnership with folks who are going to co-develop and grow the community.
I also think that you're gonna have trolls no matter what the game is. Name one that hasn't. But with that, you're also going to find the fan base of a troll is much, much smaller than the fan base of a good community content creator or a good community resource of some type, be that a guild or a Discord or whatever the case may be. And those people get found out rather quickly and ignored even quicker. So
now to keep in, sorry, you go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say the takeaway on that is, they will announce themselves. They're going to do that. You're going to have people who are employed by other games who are going to come and start that hate, but they're found out quickly, and the good community will turn around and pass that name around, etc. Find them out.
I mean, there are. Let me put it this way: there are certain YouTubers that share the same name as a known NPC in a certain well-known MMORPG, that claims, or that always is looked at as an expert in an MMORPG, as in the MMORPG genre. But if you clearly watch him, you can notice that he only plays one certain type of MMORPG, which is, in my eyes, not even an MMORPG. It's just an MMO. You know, but he has his blind fan base. So,
and unfortunately, that fan base spreads his word a lot.
Yeah, so you know what? But I can also, you know, hire a bunch of Chinese people to, you know, or just hire a bunch of Russians to spread fake news.
Is it time to spin the wheel?
Spin that wheel.
So to kind of finish that off, I think we've seen it time and time again that when somebody comes on the Discord and tries to like spread fake news about the game itself or about the company, Steven's always usually been watching and just kind of tries to correct the course. And if it's not, they're not getting it, he just bans them. So.
Oh, we know that these these specific people don't come on the Discord for that reason, though. They stay to their YouTube channels and just get people to come in. And the people in question, 2 of them have had other people share their links because they're too scared to do it themselves.
Or they can't Reddit because we don't have an official Reddit.
Yeah.
I love how I'm the only one who wants to talk about the negative topics. Because there's a bunch of pussy. Alright, I'm spitting. I'm spitting.
And just to double down on the last bit of that comment too, anyone who does watch, I don't know if people watch it now, but just to reinforce, don't strike people just because they have a bad comment. They'll bring themselves undone anyway. Attacking them directly through YouTube is not a way to do it.
No. Alright, I'm spitting.
Yeah, also don't be a sheep.
That feeling with me responds to your comment on your video and shuts the whole fucking video down.
Gundle, you're up.
Okay, so let's do. All right, let's do a different kind of one here. Why don't we go with player scaling needed to be in the game?
Alright, can somebody Can somebody explain that? Did I write that?
Yeah, sure. The answer is no. Because if you look at ESO with one Tamriel, it doesn't matter where you're at level-wise. Everything's the same level and it scales to you. If you're partnered with somebody, it scales to your partnership. I don't like it. There's no exclusivity of content. There's no gateways to content. It's all driven based on just because you want to do it.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
I could imagine one scenario where it would be okay. Let's say,
go on.
Let's say you got the senpai, the master, the guardian program, where you are the teacher of some new player, and you're max level, whatever, and you can only get scaled. They cannot get scaled up. You can only get scaled down, and only for instanced dungeons.
It's too hard to code.
Yeah, that's hard to code, and then on top of, I mean, when you do the whole scaling per player or per zone or whatever the case may be, it fractures community, at least in my mind. I mean, I always think back to WoW. Once they started doing that kind of crap, people didn't want to go to certain zones, or they didn't want to do certain things with people because they could do it themselves, because the mobs are scaled to them. They can do it at their own pace, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Where you didn't have to rely on anybody else. You could just rely on yourself. And Ashes, I know everybody here understands that the game is focused a lot on community and a lot on bringing back older MMO kind of ideals of that and having to rely on people. So scaling of things, I think, is just a big no-no, that you need to stay away from it, because if you do that, you are going to have fractures in the community, and people are just going to want to do stuff.
The point was actually brought up by me because it's been brought up by other people, and it's the comment of, not now, but later on, when people come into the game is going to be developed to a certain point around all those node areas where we come in. People that are worried that if you come in as a new player, because of the way it was expressed, this is not 100% guaranteed because this is all just hearsay, but if the zones scale by node level, that means that, say, every zone you come into is a level 20 or higher zone. A level 10 coming in then gets punished. That's what their problem is, that they're worried about.
Okay, but from what I understand, and I've gone back through watching older podcasts with Steven talking, he said that each zone and each node is going to have different levels of mobs all the way through. So like the beginning node is going to have level, let's say, 5 mobs, and then level 1 mobs and level 10 mobs also. There'll be collective groups of different levels. So every node's going to have different amount of levels, and they've always stated that, even because Steven's talked about how the beginning area of where the game is going to happen in Ashes is probably going to be higher level nodes off the beginning, just because a collective group of people are going to be in that area compared to out in the world in more of a wilderness area. So, and new players are going to also be able to experience that stuff without having to worry about being behind, because of what they've stated on that mobs are going to have low level stuff. There's going to be low level quests and things of that nature. I think it was just people not understanding that correctly is where the fear comes from.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to just double down on it, because I think people don't understand, because they heard it as there's going to be no quests for those levels. I think it's just the way it was worded that people don't understand.
Yeah, perfect.
The game UI needs to clearly lead people to the monsters that are appropriate level for them.
Agreed. That's what I was going to say. Your storyline should take you progressively through it, and the questing that you are around inside of a realm should be appropriate to your level. I recently went back to ESO. Jealous, it's your fucking fault. But it's like I don't enjoy it as much because it seems like there's never any progression. The way that I deal with the mobs, the damage that I deal, the gear that I have, it doesn't matter. Everything is all relative to scale. That's boring.
I always had that fun, kind of that fun that goes on in the game where you're traveling or exploring and you run into like a monster that's like 20 levels higher and you just fucking instantly kills you, right? Like things like that I found more fun than everything being scaled to your level. So there's no real challenge.
I know there was one thing people were saying was that it's something that will come up because it's something I've brought forward already. If there is a specific point where, okay, a level 10 and a level 50 say it together, because there's such a derivative gap, are they going to be just like power leveled? Like those things are looking at it, because that can end up being a service people then offer for money. And that's where we're trying to eliminate those kind of things as well.
Yeah, well, you'll always have that. I mean, look at example for BDO. For a long while, you were not able to power level anyone. And you still have companies offering power leveling. And by the way they did this is you just give them your login and they stream for you while they're power leveling. So to counter that, the creators BDO did enable power leveling in the game. But still, the companies will always find a way to make the money off it.
That's more speed leveling. With power leveling in that way, it means dragging a player to a higher level mob and just killing that higher level mob, giving them huge amounts of experience.
You can just balance that by not having the monster give extra XP.
Yeah.
And they've also talked about the mentoring program, right? Like how you'll mentor down to somebody's level. So
that was the word I was looking for, mentor, not master, mentor. Thank you.
So that I think is how they're going to try to somehow curb power leveling and make it so that a higher level player, like as a friend, will be able to help out low level players. I mean, yes, it can be abused. I mean, we're all, gamers, so we all understand how things can be abused and how it can work to our advantage. But as long as they balance things around it properly and they have things in place for that, then it won't be such an issue. Once again,
even WoW had those restrictions, so.
Yeah, WoW had it. Also, Lord of the Rings Online did. But when you look at the mentoring program, that's an effective means of allowing a guild to help, and that makes the community a benefit to the players. Yeah. So you're able to access the content and get the help, and it's still meaningful. Launcher, they made the tunes a different color, and like once you got to a point where the mobs were purple, you got nerfed on your experience for it as a lower level player, whereas the higher level player could still farm them for you. It just wasn't as effective.
Just to point out to those who are DMing me, I'm reflecting other people's questions, not my own.
Yeah.
Someone was just like, no, it's like this. It's like, no, I understand. It's coming from someone else now, so it's not just me.
I don't really like monster difficulty being scaled down to the player, but I like monster difficulty being scaled up to the player.
Well, I know shared perception is a new scaling system. It's the one they use in WoW, where depending on what level you are and you hit a creature, you'll do the same percentage damage no matter what level you are. You'll perceive it as your level no matter what.
You know what? Just to kind of bring it back, I mean, EverQuest 2 did one of the most original mentoring programs. It didn't matter if you had raid gear on your like level like capped character. If you went down to a mentoring of like say level 10, you had literally base gear that a level 10 would have.
Yeah.
They strip you of anything that you would be overpowered. So it would only be you teaching them the mechanics. It's not going to be you running through like level 10 mobs and just slaughtering them with one hit or anything like that. You're going to be basically at level 10 again. You're going to be at that point where you're just as effective as your friend. You're not going to be overpowered where you can just be dragging people through content super fast. So if they do it along that lines of how, EverQuest 2 kind of did it and that, then it would be a great program where there won't be a lot of power leveling and things of that nature.
This is why until we get more information on the mental program, it's just going to be at that plateaued level. I just wanted someone else to say it because then it's not just me regurgitating it back to these people over and over again and them going, oh, but you don't know. At least other people are agreeing.
Yeah.
Is there any more?
So spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel.
Okay, spinning. Where's the wheel? I think I lost the wheel. No, I found it.
Well, rip.
Wheel spinning.
Not on screen.
There's a delay.
Again?
Me again? This time I'm taking a vowel. I want an A.
Okay, A.
Okay.
Well, if you want, I can spin
So
again.
I'm gonna pick. Oh, yeah. So, as we know, there are people who are in the Alpha 0, and there are people who are looking for Alpha 1. And then one of the questions is expectations for the Alpha 1 phases, and from there on, what the community might expect, what it might actually be. So what we're looking for, I think, is to know what level maybe the game will be developed to, and how much we'll be able to get into it. Will it be like on for 4 hours and off, and then on for 4 hours? Will it be on full time? You know, what's that scenario going to be like starting at A1 and on?
It'll be buggy. That'll be the first thing.
I want to take that one first. Okay, I think they're gonna do it. They're gonna have certain dates where they be like, you know what, today we're gonna test a siege. So, you know, from that time to that time, you know, people split up into groups and we're gonna have a fight. They might let the servers run for a couple of days between those test scenarios. I can see that. So that's what I would think. I think that's the way they could do it. For my expectations, what I expect is just, you know, it's a test. It's not a finished game. It's a freaking test. Alpha 1, I think it's... I'm losing faith in humanity that we always have to explain this over and over again. That it's a test phase. Alpha phases, beta phases are test phases. It's not the finished game. So
these are old school alpha, not the new claimed alpha where people just want to use the game.
Right. It's alpha. It's not a play test. It's a test. It's pretty much a stress test for large scale conflict. So I think a lot of people, they're gonna bitch and complain, oh, this is buggy, oh, this looks stupid. And those people, I would really love to like slap them in the back of the head. So I'm not expecting too much. I'm expecting there to be a lot of bugs, a lot of, you know, disconnects. You know, it's a test.
You're expecting people to come through, and this is something pointed from QA itself. It depends on the sample size, the mechanic they're testing, and how long they want to test that mechanic for. It has nothing to do with us playing the game. It's us testing that mechanic. People keep forgetting that.
I think that's the big thing you got to drive home, right? You're not going to be running around the world all the time, free doing whatever you want. You're going to be zoned into things, or you're going to be dropped into things, or you're going to be given certain gear pieces. You're not going to be doing a lot of, you know, experimentation when they're testing, you know, siege mechanics. There's a certain thing that they are going to be testing, and that's what you've signed up to do. It's going to be buggy. Like, people need to understand that, and I think that's one of the biggest things we need to drive home as a community. It's not a finished product. It's not even close, right? Like, there's things that aren't going to be in the game that we see in Alpha 1 that they're working behind the scenes. You know, they need to understand that you're not going to be a huge knowledge base above everybody else because of certain things that they're going to be testing. Yeah, you might have a general idea of how they did it in Alpha 1, but it'll change throughout its life cycle to Alpha 2, to Beta 1, to Beta 2, depending on what they keep testing. If they have to keep testing siege mechanics because they don't have it right, you know, don't expect that Alpha 1 to Alpha 2 everything's going to be the same. And I think people, like you guys have already hit on, that, you know, the newer versions of alphas are basically polished games that are literally just getting translations down and moving from a localization standpoint.
You're being nice. They're games where people want to make you pay for the game to get into the game early while it still has bugs.
Yep. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And I'll call out a game that had the worst for it, PUBG. Bluehole done that the worst.
Copy-paste MMOs, essentially, is the way I like to think.
Well, I mean, if we take a look at what they've currently said, so at the moment, it's pretty public knowledge. They even said it a few times that A0 is literally them just testing the infrastructure, testing the technology they have.
Right.
And then if we transition that to an Alpha 1 standpoint, that's literally going to be them, now that they have the technical stuff down, for the most part at least, it's going to be them testing specific mechanics they want us to test. So it might be sieges, it might be anything. It's just going to be them pigeonholing us into specific scenarios so they can test the in-game mechanics. And then once they
I mean, it's still going to ultimately be stability testing, right?
Oh, yeah, no,
you don't really get into feature testing until beta, right?
Well, stability comes in beta 1 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always going to have stability, right? At the end of the day, and for me, it's just coming from an old school MMO background, right? I mean, I'm not used to some of these newer games that really go in and like you guys have said, right? Charge people to get into a quote unquote alpha, and it's really just an unpolished game, right? It's all that, all the things that you would expect to have in a game. It just got bugs and they want to charge people for it. I mean, I've been in true alphas before, and it's not a persistent universe. You have really small testing windows. There's depending on the sample size, you may or may not get to go in and test, operative word, not play the game, right? So I mean, you're going in, you're giving feedback, you're looking for bugs, right? It's not going to be a seamless experience. And I think Steven said himself, and I totally agree, the nature of what the market is right now is he was very fearful of releasing this out and being so transparent, because he knew there were going to be certain folks within the community that were not going to get what was happening because they are not used to it. They haven't been exposed to it. So, I mean, I think that's just a drum we need to keep, banging for people.
Well, that's one of the
as a good example,
that's why they watermarked all the images inside of Alpha Zero.
But
I still have people who comment on the YouTube videos that say, why doesn't people say it's Alpha Zero? Like, it's in the video itself. I don't understand how people can't notice that. So some people are just idiots. But on to double down on that, doing QA myself, I've been in other games where at this level, where they're testing mechanics, core mechanics, not even just normal mechanics and features, just core mechanics of the game, where we've been in a 60-foot grey room and we're just clicking on things to see what breaks the game. And that's how much of a difference this game has, where it's already flushed out into a world that they're testing in a snapshot, versus a game where it's literally a grey room. I mean, the first 3 months of testing Overwatch was us running around on a map that was grey. There was no texture, no nothing.
Yep.
And that's Friends and Family Tech Alpha.
Okay, so when you look at it, so like from Alpha Zero's perspective, they're not, the combat mechanics haven't been vetted out. They've really focused on the environment and the server load balancing and things like that. So that's the focused approach that they're taking with the development later. And it's a double-edged sword being so transparent, because then people see that and say, oh my god, that combat is janky. I wouldn't play that, etc. I mean, honestly, Alpha Zero combat is on par with ESO.
Yeah. I had to do it to limit without... Because the NDA stuff, I didn't want to break any of that with some people. But like I've seen that with other games where at that same level, they don't even have a game to play in. It's just a little room you test things in. The game doesn't get flushed out until later. The fact that they were willing to bring it out so early and show us is a tip of the hat to the company, because they got so much done. But in the same essence, that we have to keep making sure to double down on people to say this is only the early stuff. Normally companies don't show this because they're too scared to.
Oh yeah, I mean, because I've been invited to games before. Sorry, it's your fault. Where I get in there and I'm like, "Is it Atari? Am I playing an Atari game?"
Yeah.
To some alpha game once.
Gorgon.
Literally felt like it was an Atari game.
Gorgon is awesome.
Gorgon looks bad, but it has good mechanics.
Yeah.
But and to double down on that, I can say this from someone who isn't testing it but knows someone who is. Companies also can go the other way, like Anthem with EA. They are restricting anyone seeing anything about the game, and the game's been in development for 7 years.
I mean, as long as they keep up the level of communication that they have, as long as we as a community make clear to everybody who is going to be in Alpha 1 that it's a testing phase. And
Yeah.
that shouldn't be an issue. I mean, honestly, I'm not a big fan of them dropping the NDA for Alpha 1. I have an issue with that because I always go back to the whole Crowfall incident where people shitstormed the game because of the really early playtests. But after
To be granted, that game deserved it though.
I cannot comment on that. I backed that game.
I backed the game and got my money back.
Crowfall and Ashes at its current state in Alpha 1 are like they're like worlds apart. So I'm not that worried about the performance of Ashes in Alpha 1. I'm just worried about the overall, what the crowd is gonna think. The crowd mentality is like, oh, this is the Alpha. Why is this not finished? Why? I do not understand why.
And they double down on that. I can't wait from us going from the snapshot to the actual game, and people can then just shut up once we see the real game.
If you got to 50 concurrent viewers who were doing a giveaway, we're almost there.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you said that.
I never said that. I never said that. Fake news.
Guys, you said that.
I was there.
But
yeah, we all heard it.
All right, everybody. We had 47 viewers.
1 second, Arnold. First of all, Belly.
Going offline right now.
Gonna just.
They're like, I'm just gonna purposely ruin this.
Just want to tell you something, Bell. Sometimes we're expected to sell games that are garbage cans and make them sound like treasures.
Yep, that's never. Okay, I'm spinning the wheel. Anybody against it?
Well, I had something to say.
Right, say it.
But the way I've always pictured alphas is that you're being given permission to break the game to support what you broke. That way they know how to fix it.
Smart people know that.
Pretty much.
Hold on.
But some people view it as a finished game, though.
I'm going to be very blatant honest. Some of the people that test games don't even know how to link URLs. Alright? So, I'm just going to go ahead and call that out there. If it hurts someone's feelings, I'm sorry. But how do you test a game if you don't know how to copy the URL that you're on?
Are you actually sorry?
To be honest,
in theory, totally.
when people got confused, when I asked someone, did they know how to bring up the debug mode in the game?
Okay, so that's what I was talking about for the URL.
What do you mean?
I want to quote the Book of Salt, page 1, article 1, rule number 1. People are idiots. Because
by people he means all of you, not me.
Yeah, everybody. No, because here's always the thing. I know it's a marketing trend. Be first, early access, be the first in the game. Alpha 1, be the first. Be cool. Yeah, but then all these kids and they're like, oh, I want an Alpha 0 key. I want to be in the Alpha 0, and I'm sitting back here, 30 years old. I'm thinking. You want to be in a game just so you can play. Why there are
they want to play test.
No, they don't want to play test. They just want to play. They want to be one of the first to play. And then you have other people out there that they actually want to test. They do want to test. They tested other games. They want to test on a serious basis. And then you have a bunch of people that are like, oh yeah, I want to be cool. I want to be one of the first. Like, can I stream Alpha 1? I want to be cool. I'm like, why don't you just want to test?
I have people who ask, can they stream Alpha 0? I'm like, there's an NDA for a reason.
So from what I'm understanding, you want to be cool.
Yes, I want to be cool. God damn it.
Wait. If I get into an alpha, I'm cool?
Yes. Apparently you are.
Finally.
Okay, you know what? I'm spinning the wheel.
Spin the wheel!
Spin it.
Coming up.
Spin the wheel.
All right, let's see what we got here. All right. The progress of, and maybe this is related to our topic here, but the progress in the time frame that we have for Ashes of Creation is before 2020. Now, given where they are, do you think it, will hit that date? Do you think we'll go into 2020, or do you think, with some limited delays, something could potentially go wrong? So, do you believe the release date?
No.
I think that it'll come out in 2019.
I think it should come out in 2019.
I'd be the bad guy.
I think they overestimated their time on purpose so that we would have a realistic expectation.
I'd be the bad guy and say, no, we're going to be in 2020.
I'm thinking 2020 myself.
Yeah,
but I have timelines prepared for myself as if it's going to be both ways.
The reason why I personally think, and I know Steven and the guys from Intrepid, they watch the show once in a while, and maybe they watch it all the time. It's not because, I am an asshole sometimes, but it's not because I got something against Intrepid or anybody. It's just, there is the thing in software development and in game development, Murphy's Law. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And everybody that has worked in game development or in software development, you know how this works. You lay out a really nice roadmap with deadlines, and just one thing has to go wrong, and everything has to be pushed back. The last game I worked on, we had to push it back 3 times. So I am hoping the game comes out before 2020. I'm really, really hoping. But we're going into A1 at the end of the year. So this is going to be really, really tight. It's going to be really, really tight if they want to make before 2020.
Well,
I mean, I think if it does kind of, doesn't make it, it's not going to be for lack of trying. I mean, the guys and gals on the team are working really hard. But you're right. I mean, I'm not necessarily in game development in my career, but I know working with technology, something is always going to go wrong. Something that you never expected to go wrong will go wrong. And I would rather something goes wrong and it delays the game and they fix it before it gets to a release date and breaks the game.
Yeah, let me offer this. It's better to wait and have a better done game, a more well done game, than it is to urge them into getting out. So we've all dealt with bug games. And
absolutely.
But at the same time, let me offer a counter to BCG.
Nope.
This isn't EA/XYZ. This is a
Ubisoft.
Born and grown of the same community of people who are talking right here and listening in on the stream. What I mean by that is he knows these things slip. He understands the making of a date for an MMO, what it means when it slips or when it doesn't, underdevelopment, overdevelopment, etc. So I have confidence. I'm like you. I'm hoping it'll come in 2019. I have confidence he'll release it when it's ready, and that he's probably geared up for that slippage. That's why we're seeing the end of 2019 as a date. Now, that's my optimistic.
Let me add one more thing. Now that I think about it, because me and Okis, we talked about this way too often. I don't want them to finish when it's done, when the game is ready. I want them to release at the right point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Because other big studios that own MMORPGs are well known to do counter marketing campaigns.
WoW will release on Ashes.
Exactly.
Release date. I guarantee.
Well, no, not World of Warcraft. Something else we've heard in the pipeline.
Blizzard, if they planning another MMORPG, or any other big company that plans another MMORPG till 2020, they are going to plan their release around Ashes.
Oh yeah, and they're going to plan people into it, making sure that every bug and problem is streamed and or shown as negative.
We're waiting for BlizzCon this year to see if the announcement comes up.
But they have to do that because Ashes and other games, not just Ashes, Crowfall or whatever, takes away from their player base, if not a little, a lot. So they're a big corporation, as shareholders. They're going to ensure their product the best they can. And who's to say, if I wasn't working there, I wouldn't say, okay, I'm going to employ 3 people to go get into the beta, to go get into the release, and to go spam shit about it. Absolutely.
Hearing that it sounds like Ashes is one of their focuses as an issue is something that makes me think that they will drop it right on top of or before it.
I think that it's good that Intrepid has been a bit up in the air about their dates. It makes it harder for the large companies to plan around it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they have to
look
move
at
a lot more. It's harder to steer that ship.
Look at Battle for Azeroth. There's already WoW's already stealing some of the ideas and putting them in their game and releasing it ahead of time, and they're releasing the game right before Alpha 1.
Yes, that was actually shifted.
Okay, just a quick heads up. Bell had to go, so Bell says bye. Bye.
That's fine.
I'm also leaving, guys. It was wonderful. Thank you for inviting me. It was unexpected.
Okay, hey, anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime, man.
Yeah, thanks for stopping.
Bye.
Thank you. And you guys are awesome. Bye.
So,
Okay, who was
Spin
talking?
the
okay.
wheel.
So the double down on the point there was that these other companies looking at it and they're actually taking from it, which is a positive thing because it means that they actually like what they see.
Yeah, I mean that's
The fact that they shifted their game release earlier on purpose means that they are looking at it as something that could be viable against them.
Yeah, I mean,
As a threat.
Yeah,
Yes,
they did it with
validly. It was commented as a threat.
Wildstar.
Not just MMOs though. Blizzard do it with their other games. They dropped Overwatch on top of another game that was competing with them as well.
Yeah, the statement still remains: imitation is the highest form of flattery. So Steve should take it as such, or these other games should take it as such, because if something as big as Blizzard and WoW has to rip off ideas you're putting in your game to try to enhance their game, take that as a badge, and I would say it. I'd put it out there in the world. Hey, we had this, and look at what they're doing.
But here's the thing. Let me just say this, okay, before really go into full-on conversation. WoW is known to take things from other games. That is a fact. Or take things from the community, add-ons, whatever. The thing that I think Blizzard has a problem with now is they would have to scale down a lot of things in their current version of World of Warcraft to compete with Ashes, because Steven clearly said in a couple of streams that not everybody will like this game. He's not aiming to be the next WoW killer or wannabe WoW killer or to replace WoW. He's making a certain type of MMORPG for a certain type of player that has a more interest in the old school way of MMORPGs. WoW cannot compete with that old school type of MMORPG because of its current player base, which is sadly in the majority of the aspect more user friendly, and compared to like its early classic version.
Okay,
with WoW, I can understand.
The player base is getting more mature, and they want that. So at the same time, he can't compete with a Korean style of game or a cash shop style game. I don't want him to.
Oh, he knows that.
With WoW.
But Chili, this was the point they were talking about. This is why people have been flagging this to me a lot too. That it's not the game that's out now. It's the game that they're working on. The game that's supposed to be more like Ashes.
Yeah.
This game that they all of a sudden shifted 1,200 staff onto. Like, that's a huge number of staff to shift to a game real quickly.
Well, and the point is that they're shifting any number, let alone that large a number.
And they already drew in 120. But they drew in 120 MMO players to come test the game already. So they're trying to expedite the game earlier.
Because they're doing these steps, it lends to the validation that the MMO community is shifting away from the handheld cash shop, troll-ridden stuff that they've been dealing with. Why there's a black hole in the gaming community of MMO currently is because of this type of stuff, and people are done with it. They want to get back into, why do we play these games? It's to play out that fantasy, crash and bash, get the monster, I've done the D&D, whatever it is, theme that you're doing, to go adventure and have fun and not deal with, the dregs or the pains of constantly being hammered by a cash shop, or constantly going, oh my gosh, I'm playing with somebody who can't even play an MMO, but they've got a level 100 character. And all these things that are constantly making derivatives and takeaways from the current games that are out there. And again, I like Guild Wars 2. I played WoW Vanilla. I've never touched Final Fantasy, and my list of MMOs is huge. The net result is he saw that vacuum, the same one I'm talking about right now. The reason why the tavern even exists is because there's this vacuum. And when he fills that, and people take note that are big like Blizzard, not just some other small company that's making a LIKE game, but Blizzard of all people, that's badass. That's how you know you're on the right track. In my
opinion. We always say this: Blizzard or Activision will be the one to kill WoW. No one else. They'll drive that into the ground and kill it themselves.
It's happening already with EA.
It is now.
Yeah. I think a lot of people start to realize, and sad isn't all of them, because there are certain times on the Ashes Discord where we have this topic where I noticed there's a good amount of people that played the early MMORPGs and kind of get what those type of games are about. And then you have the more younger crowd that joined in the last 3 to 4 years, 5 years. You know, they never got to experience the first time you log onto a freaking MMORPG. They, you know, they already are playing. They started playing these early, you know, these easy access. We hold your hands. You do not really need to communicate with other people to, you know, play the game. Sort of games. And I think Blizzard is starting slowly to realize, okay, we are getting the younger crowd interested in our games, but you know we are losing the hardcore MMORPG crowd because the only
they're also getting spikes in their gameplay.
Yeah, you get spikes in their gameplay when new content comes out. Even I myself go back to World of Warcraft every time new content comes out because there is nothing really out there. And I think Steven is gonna be one of the first to try to like fill that niche, and the big ones are gonna try to rush like in before him or right after him.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm spinning the wheel because we went way off topic.
Do it.
Spin the wheel.
All right.
Spin.
We're gonna do maybe 1 or 2 more because I think that's gonna be good for the first time. Or what do you guys think? You guys fit?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good with 1 or 2 more.
I want my topic.
Alright, no, Chili. This is no. I'm going again.
Chili already. Jesus.
I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win this game. If you
No. I want somebody who hasn't gone before. There we go.
Yeah.
Gato. Pick a topic.
All right. I'm gonna go with the debate I was having with Zeke on the official Discord with. It says about legendaries. How much of an advantage should they give, and how should they handle like 1,000 people going after a legendary and only one person getting it? And my personal thought about that is, no, I'm not saying that like we should casualize a game. I'm saying that we should make it so that you don't get an inherent advantage for being a hardcore player. No. Okay, that's worded wrong. I'm saying that if you're a hardcore player, sure, you should get an advantage for putting time and effort into the game.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if you want to spend, say, 6 months going and getting this item, then by all means. But if, say, a person who doesn't have the amount of time, who doesn't have, you know, the amount of money to like be able to like what am I saying? Be able to continue on the regular life and then put, you know, time into the game, then I don't think people should be punished for having to also put real life in first. That way they could play the game as well.
All right, let me, because I think about legendaries a lot because our main tank in World of Warcraft Classic on our server was the first one to get Thunder Fury. That was yeah, go ahead.
That's exactly where I was going for. Is that we shouldn't limit, or I think we shouldn't limit legendaries like one person per one server. But I do think that it should be difficult enough to where it is rare to get.
Let me throw something at you because I get where you're coming from. So he was the first guy to get Thunder Fury. For anybody who knows what I'm talking about, you know the fucking questline. You know the pain of the ass that questline was. But it was fun, and we were like, oh yeah, our main tank, Thunder Fury, fuck yeah, we're the baddest guild on the server. Walked into Orgrimmar like, yeah, what's up? And, you know, that was fun. Then 3 weeks later, a Paladin had Thunder Fury. I'm like, okay, cool.
Just to point out too, with the game, he did say that depending on the type is where we might only have one per server. So they're not saying all of them will be one legendary per server. There might just be a limited amount of them.
Yeah. So,
but you also remember that that's a double-edged sword because those weapons can still break.
Yeah. So here's the thing with legendaries and ashes. First up, just just like Oki just said, if you're not online for a certain amount of time, you're gonna lose it, and it can break. So you're gonna have to put a lot of effort on keeping it. That's the whole thing with legendary, is that, you know, if you have a legendary, you have it. In Ashes, there's a chance you can lose that legendary. But I also think that there should be two ways of you obtaining a legendary. First up, you should not be able to farm a certain mob because that mob has a chance of dropping a legendary. That should never happen. There should only be 2 types of ways for you to get a legendary. Number 1, through a bitch ass quest line, like something really where you would where other people would consider you crazy if you do that quest line.
I think they are.
Just let me finish my thought. Damn it. So in that quest line, you have a lot of ways to optimize and customize your legendary. All right, that's a bitch ass quest. That's a quest line that would take you at least half a year to finish. Then there's the other way it could go, where you random drop a 0.001% chance that an item drops. That gives you a chance of a somewhat shorter quest line for legendary, but you cannot optimize it or customize it. It's just, you know, like, for example, you start the first quest line and you want a 200 sword. So you do the half-year quest line to get a legendary sword. And, you know, if you do not get all the drops you need, it might even take longer, right? And then the other one, the second one is, you know, you might get the item through a drop, and, you know, you were going for a shield, but all you get is a dagger.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I mean, I have a couple things to kind of comment on legendaries, because I brought up a forum post way back in the day about this. But anybody that's played EverQuest 2, when they did raiding, if they were world first or whatever, they actually dropped mythicals, which were considered legendary items, and they gave a giant power level increase, and there was only 1 per server for that specific mythical. Yeah. So it was basically world first or server first guilds going after these items. You know, once the patch launched, they were trying to raid this content as fast as they could. I think raiding needs to be incorporated into it, at least in some legendaries. I don't think you should be given a mythical right then and there after you complete the raid. I think that, like BCG kind of hinted at, it should be a percent drop from, say, a raid boss.
Yes.
That starts you on a quest to do stuff, but I think it also needs to. I think it would be cool to see it kind of incorporate the server and crafters in the way of going about doing it, rather than just a solo person's quest. That's a bitch ass quest. I think it should be a bitch ass quest you're gonna have to rely on other people to help you, whether it be you know, an armor smith or a weapon smith or whatever the case may be for that. I think that needs to be in play, rather than just a quest line or something like that. I think it needs to be an epic thing that you did, whether it be, you know, you've explored and found this one spot, and this is where, you know, this leads you to the quest line or whatever the case may be. But I think raiding needs to be incorporated in it, at least to a certain extent.
Steven did say that things like that would happen, where it is a breadcrumb quest. That would not be just they do a quest and you get it. It is a quest you have to then earn the right to have the legendary. So there is going to be a lot where you work with the community to get things you need, materials or questing done.
What I would like to see is them not actually sort of announce that, oh yeah, X quest is going to give you this legendary or this chance for legendary. I'd prefer it where you do something. It might be for a raid. You might get like a 1 in, I don't know, 1,000 chance drop that starts you on a breadline quest, and you have to achieve something with a server, whether it's building a specific monument or etc. And then it turns out at the end of that, you then happen upon a legendary because of the shit that you've been through to get this done.
Well, that's why I said it's more of a reward.
It's not just something.
Sorry, I was going to say, let's add this to that reward that you just said. When you get it, you are a tank summoner. Great. It's a weapon that's for your class. Because if I get lucky enough to get the quest and get it done, and I'm a ranger bard, that same reward should be appropriate to me and my class. That way, we don't end up with the same epic or legendary, whatever you want to call it, that we're both holding the same two-hander of fire-breathing buttholes or whatever the case may be. We each have an appropriate legendary to us, so we can both look at each other and go, "Oh, you made it through that quest, yeah. What did you get? Well, here's what I got." I mean, that adds to that.
Yeah, Stephen did say it would be something usable by your prime class, just because he knows what it's like to lose something that's not useful for your class at all.
There's one. Right. I want to throw something in there. Tay said. He says, if a legendary has no impact because people want it to be balanced, then what's the point? That's right. We know the game will not be balanced. Balance is freaking boring. And
balance is invented for crap.
Yeah. You don't want welfare legendaries either. You don't want them to be handed out to everyone who just
don't
like WoW.
Yeah, don't do what freaking WoW does in the last couple of expansions.
Don't get me wrong. This is something to point out, and this was a way it was put. If your weapon breaks, this legendary weapon or bit of gear, you might have to go and raid just to get the material you need to repair it.
Right.
Like, it's not a little amount. This is going to be something on the legendary equivalent tier of crafting.
As a segue on that balance thing, too, by the way, because this is one of the things that will get this group of talkers here trolled. Balance doesn't mean balancing classes when you're straight up using the same exact level of gear, same amount of points in your character, same level, okay? That should be a balance. But then out of balance, take away the whole invention of constant balance, is if Okies gets that sword and I don't, he could take off the sword, I'll take off the sword, and we'll fight fist to fist, and it'll be fairly balanced, okay? But if he's got the sword, he earned it, he should be able to strike me down. Therefore, he is a higher level, better player, whatever the case may be, and deserves that reward. And it is unbalanced, and it should be. I'm not a hater on Care Bears, but building balance across everything and every attack and every single point is a joke. Why even have levels or gear at all?
Look at Star Wars Galaxies, like
Jedi exactly,
or whatever. Back in the day, it took like a bazillion hours to get become a Jedi, and then once you were like this god, and people would be like, "Oh, there goes fucking Gundel over there. He became a Jedi, and now he's murdering everyone."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's his choice.
See, I would all the pad ones. That's what I was trying to get at, is not make it so that every legendary is like there's only one on the server, and whoever has it is immediately head and shoulders above everyone else, just because they had the.
Depends on the ability. Okay.
Depends on this is what it came down to, like the mythicals and EQ. Some were balanced around being all right, but there were some mythicals where like healers, if you casted a heal within a certain time, you would proc and get 50% mana back. So there was a point where you would never run out of mana, so you would just outrun the group of an opposing group, because your healer would have mana. So as long as there's a balance to the legendaries where there's not an overarching spike to the point where it's just like, oh, well, shit, that whole team has legendaries, well, I guess we need 5 times the amount of people to take them down. As long as there's a balance,
though, with legendaries, is you don't want them to be homogenous, right? WoW made a huge mistake doing that. Right. Everybody needed 2 legendaries to be good, right? At that point.
In WoW, they made the mistake of just making legendary another tier of gear to acquire. Right. Legendaries are supposed to be a unique item that is a thing you hold above everyone else in the server. It is because you earned the right to hold that item.
Why have anything that's called legendary, elite, special, more than blank 0? Because if it's all going to be even all the time, what is the point of investing, leveling, getting that item or that level of gear? It's just something that everybody gets, and it's all the same exactly again.
Right.
Just keep everybody as a scrub in beginning cotton clothing, because guess what? It starts out all balanced right then, and you need not go any further. It's dumb.
Yeah.
The imbalance of the game causes the need to fight and earn and struggle and build group, get guild, play harder. That's what the whole point of it is so that you can get to that ta-da moment and have that epic wand or sword or whatever, and be the leader of that guild or be a really strong player of that crowd, of that community, and help them also achieve hard things. And if you're logged off, well, you can't help. And if you're logged on, well, I'm going to steer clear of you.
You know what I would like? You know what I would like to see? The whole Excalibur scenario where somewhere in the world you have a sword that is so freaking awesome that you can literally cut water in half, or I don't know, something awesome. But then it
should still have a chance of being hurt, so that you're not unwieldily using it everywhere.
You should not turn into Chuck Norris. Like
you're just not cutting down all the pad ones, and nobody can stop you.
That's the answer from some people who are talking in the chat too. You want a weapon that has.
I'm not done yet. Let me finish my thought.
I mean, I wanted to continue on without getting interrupted.
Okay, yeah, go on.
But I'm not saying that what you guys are saying is wrong, and I'm not disagreeing with it. But what I'm saying is that I feel it should probably go along the lines of, as BCG said earlier, of the Thunder Fury. It should take years or 6+ months to even obtain a legendary after you've already reached max level, after you've already started doing end game content. It should take that amount of time. I'm not saying it should be a Care Bear give it
because they logged on a Monday,
right? I'm not saying it should be like that, but what I'm saying is that it shouldn't be along the lines of this one person happened to get this ahead of everyone else. So everyone else who was already working on it and was possibly even almost there just got shafted out of materials, time, and they were just...
I actually think it doesn't work that way. It's a single drop.
Never do that. It should not do that. It should still reward each person. I agree.
Well, but the comment was made that if it's a drop, it is a one-off drop. No one else can get that drop to start the quest.
That would be okay. I'm okay with that. It should be legendary, but...
I mean, yeah, but you have to have many... Okay, so listen. If on our server there's a one-off drop like that and Okiju get it, why am I ever going to go after anything legendary or do anything again? Because that's it. So you have to say, there are thousands of those, right? So you got that one. That's fine.
Exactly.
But I can go get my one-off drop, and that's mine. You guys can't have
what
it.
I mean is that one item.
The problem with that one item is it's just going to get... Everybody could get to that one item. You know what I mean? It should almost be where if, say Zeke is a bard, right? And, everybody else is a different class. Let's just use that for an example. Whoever finishes that as the primary class of that legendary group, that stops the quest for everybody else. That is of that primary. So, say Zeke finishes the quest and he's the bard. All the bards, unfortunately, won't be able to get that legendary now. But everybody else, being of a different class, still has the chance. And you have 8 of them. 8 legendaries.
Okay,
you don't want to have a billion legendaries out there where everybody can get the item, right?
But in that same comment was, if that happens and you are the person who didn't get it, you might have just wasted 100,000 gold in the game getting the materials that are wasted now.
So there should be a step below that is more common that people can have, and the one that you've got
an epic version
should have a lifespan, meaning you can use it up and then it goes back into the community for attempting again. Now, you might be able to attempt it again, or I might get it the next time, but it becomes part of that reroll in a sense on the server.
So you're saying it's like Flight and Dragons, basically?
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what that is.
See, I'm not a fan of that though. I think that once you've done the legendary, once you've completed it and that's yours, it should be an awe moment where everybody and the story of the server should be kind of crafted around that individual because they've completed this quest. Oh shit, okay, BCG has that giant sword that can cut through water. Everybody knows BCG because of that story, because he has that legendary.
What's up?
Giving them that temporary power of having a legendary item, it diminishes the fact of a legendary in my eyes, because that power goes back to the server rather than that individual having that power. Once again, you got to keep in mind with patches and things and expansions or whatever the case may be with Ashes, those legendaries will hold less. Yeah, they'll add more later. They'll hold less weight when new gear and things get involved in the game. They'll become, oh my god, you see that transmog he has of that legendary item. That's awesome. It'll become like a collection piece. It won't be this amazing thing anymore. It won't be this imbalance of power as the game progresses. Yes, at a certain time.
As long as that additional content does get there, because what you don't want to do is just end up tamping down all the rest of the bards. Never going to be a bard. Why? Because you can't get into the legendary. So why make one?
I mean, right. I see what you're saying, but I mean, also you got to look at it like there's only one bard that has it. So therefore, all the other bards aren't irrelevant because you can't just pull off of one bard.
Let me throw something in here right now because I might be wrong, but I rarely am. I recall Steven saying in one of the live streams that if a certain player is not online for a certain amount of time and this player holds a legendary, that legendary goes back into...
Yes.
Yes. So, just throwing that out there because, you know, just reading chat.
That could be law-based too, though.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, exactly. But like if I'm saying, if somebody logs on daily, right, and is an active player, and then they put in the work, they shouldn't be screwed out of their legendary for all that hard work, is what I'm saying, right?
If they're using a repair destroy mechanic, which means if you go so far you destroy it, they could always add it saying that there's a risk reward to using that weapon too much or item too much that it will break completely and be turned back into the game.
That's right. You can have
what
it
that
forever,
does,
and it'll never
and
show
this
up
was
again.
someone immediately DM'd me this comment, and this is the point that people were making. How many legendaries can one person have? Because I know a specific guild who their guild leader wants to be fed all the legendaries just so he can have them all.
One of each.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm going to tell that person.
This is not going to happen.
By that standard.
This is not going to happen in Ashes, and I can tell you why. Because we're going to have old school GMs, and if legendaries do hold a certain degree of lore within the world, the GMs better goddamn make sure that not one person gasses all the fucking legendaries.
They'll make that person
right. But I mean, I come from a guild where in EQ we had all the mythicals. Like we had all the mythicals for like 4 expansions straight because we rated that shit and we were the first ones to do it. We world first and server first. So
deserve that shit.
So yeah, exactly. And I think they do. But I mean, that power can be placed onto one guild if they're effective enough and good enough.
Yeah. And I think that should honestly
spread over multiple people. I can understand though. Having one person just be the almighty powerful person because they have 4 bits of armor that are legendary is something I don't want in the game.
Well, I 100% agree, and I think whoever DM'd you saying that they're guild master, that's their plan. That should be a red flag to everybody in that guild that might not want to be in that guild.
That's been a topic of conversation already.
All right, I'm spinning the wheel.
All right.
Does anybody want to add anything?
No, I want to add. I love the topic. I think there's some excellent input from the community and from us on it, and I would love to see some changes that go around legendaries in how Ashes is done, because I think it would be a great change of pace.
Yeah,
I don't mind if there's a specific tier like listing that might be just below legendary for those who earn at least the weapon or the armor, and then don't earn the legendary status.
Yeah, I can see that.
They're still epic tier.
Yeah, like they get like a replica of said legendary, perhaps.
The variant.
The way because the way I've imagined legendaries, if it will followed along the like only one person gets it, they're head and shoulders above because like say a fighter were to get it and it's a legendary 2-handed sword, that sword would probably have a 20 to 25% increase, or it probably wouldn't be considered a legendary. And
it could be something static too, though. Don't forget. It could be something like you get to use 2 of your abilities instead of 1 to augment.
Yeah,
and
those things make the power balance bigger.
Yeah, and not only would that be, I'm not saying like the imbalance as in what we've been saying previous. I'm saying that it'll make it so that along the lines of say,
All right.
They did mention that like weapons would have like a skill tree to them. I wonder if that counts like per weapon. Like, would a legendary add to that skill tree or have its own?
Or
it might have its own unique one.
Yeah, it might be unique.
Once you've got it.
All right. We just hit the 2.5 hour mark, so I'm gonna spin the wheel. We're gonna do one more topic, and then we're done. Kicking you all out.
Last topic.
Wow, rude.
Spin the wheel. I don't care.
We could always just do a speed round.
No, just do a speed round.
Yeah.
All right, I'm spinning.
Speed round.
No speed round.
Spin the wheel.
No.
Keep cheating again.
We're gonna get.
Over here. The wheel.
Is he back? I've got on live. Are you there?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
All right, pick a topic.
Yeah.
Can I pick on an off topic that we didn't actually write down yet?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sure. Whatever goes. Whatever you want.
All right. So this is a question I've asked like 2 or 3 times to see the responses, and it's mainly because I love PvP. The main reason I'm coming to Ashes and I'm hyped for Ashes is PvP. Another aspect I love about this is setting up tournaments. I've done it for Honor. Not sure if you know the game. It's shit right now. But I love setting up tournaments and getting people together. Now, the thing is, Steven said there will be instances for PvP. But what I've seen people say is that they want other players to be able to raid those instances. So I kind of want to see what you guys think of that as well, because I don't like the idea of my tournament that I worked hard to set up getting raided by some other guild that just wants to have a bit of fun against me.
See, let me wait. I go first. God damn it. That is a little bit of a tricky topic, because as far as I recall, there is instant PvP, there is open world arena PvP, and there's open world PvP. We know they want to do cross server PvP, without any impact on the server or your gear or whatever, you know, just like leaderboards, you know, like getting on Guild Wars 2 is a bad example.
Just like World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft, pretty much, just like World of Warcraft PvP. But you can still buy, you know, gear in World of Warcraft. Well, in the old system you could. So I don't know how it's gonna go. I don't know if you can rent like instances to do tournaments in. That might be something for a later point.
Well, that's something I would love to see. Like,
you mean like
more games have been doing that?
Okay, let me offer this as my little quick piece on it. Yes, I agree, because I've done that too, and it's a very fun form of PvP. So I want it in this way. If your guild has gotten control over a certain size, so let's say it's smaller for a town, but it gets bigger for a metropolis, a small area within that you can do a PvP thing like. So an arena in that town, which is small, you can only have like 1v1, 2v2, but in a metropolis, you could have 10v10 set up. Now, the reason why it's good is because you can't really raid that instance, right? You're inside of a metropolis that's protected, so some other faction, guild, whatever, isn't going to come like just go through your town and get to the arena and PvP crush everybody. They have to come to an arena where they can sign up and be part of it if they're allowed to do so as a community member, what have you.
Yeah,
might be
it'll be a sanction. It'll be a sanction thing. So to go against your competition or your tournament would be to go against the city then too.
Yep.
Yeah, military node.
Or whatever node.
Just, that's different because that's open PvP.
Didn't they mention there would be like didn't they mention metros wouldn't be completely protected, as in you were allowed to hurt other people there, but you would get punished for it?
Yeah, they said something about NPCs like helping you when you get attacked.
Yeah, so
there'd be guards and other things.
Like we talked about on the forums, how like it would actually be more interesting that like you do like an open world Coliseum type thing, and then like potentially people could go and try to interrupt it, but you could also use that as player agency by hiring security.
Yep.
Or like, you know,
and that's more on the RP side. That's open world PvP in the arena versus an instance. An instance would be something you sanction. You might do, say, Chile might do it as a Chile's tournament, and at that point, then people are just griefing because they'd come in to stop his tournament.
Exactly. I was going to hit on that, right? Because every time Steven talks about PvP, right, he always talks about meaningful PvP. Running into an instance just to wreck somebody else's fun is exactly what Steven doesn't want the game to be. He's said this many times. He doesn't want it to be a murder box. He doesn't want that to be the case. So if it's an instance, if it's instance, they shouldn't be able to get into it anyway. Right?
Agreed.
Shouldn't be able to get
one of the literal reasons for the corruption system.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the core reasons of PvP. And this is what I think people don't understand, or people are hoping will change, is that they want Steven's vision of PvP to change. A lot of people that are driving on the forums, and we all know who they are always talking about how they want it to be, they want to be able to gank somebody and they don't want to be punished for it. They don't want to lose gear. They don't.
They're pussies.
Exactly, they are, and things of that nature.
Sorry, I got to say this because today is a special occasion. I got to say this just once. if you enjoy ganking people that cannot fight back, if you have to be the type of guy to, you know, jump people and they cannot fight back, if you are too much of a pussy to fight, you know, a guy that can actually fight back, you know, then honestly, move out of your mom's basement, get a job, you know, come outside. It's dark down there. Because I love PvP, I could play PvP every day, but you will never catch me jumping somebody, you know, that is...
ganking and trolling.
Yeah, ganking and trolling. Like, somebody that is 40 levels...
And just to point out, attacking someone who's around your level who's stolen the item you wanted in the world, that's an attack. Jumping on them repeatedly until they quit the game, that deserves you to get in trouble for ganking.
Yeah.
People don't understand there's a difference there. People think that, oh, the corruption's going to happen, you're going to be punished immediately. No, it's something you earn depending on what you do. If you attack someone who's a lower level than you, yes, you should get the corruption quicker.
Yes. I mean,
same with if you repeatedly
you're
attack
making
someone.
it so they can't fight back, right? Yeah. Like if you're low level, you're not going to be able to beat most likely a high level player. So yeah, that should never be a thing. Like because that will kill a community faster than anything else by just repeatedly allowing for people to get murdered, not allowing them to do anything. PvP holds such weight in this game, and I think that the problem is people don't realize that caravans are going to be like the bread and butter on how a node levels, right, and how things work. And that is PvP focused. That is all PvP focused. Really.
Right. I mean, PvP has to mean something, and when you're ganking somebody, it doesn't mean anything other.
That's right.
Let me quote Steven. This is my favorite quote that has to do with Ash's creation that comes from Steven. He once stated, I think it was in live stream 3 or 4. He stated, Ashes of Creation is 50% PvE, 50% PvP. The PvE content drives the PvP content. The game is based around meaningful conflict. If you do not find enough reason to PvP in this game, then I don't know, go play Tekken Tag Tournament. That's honestly, because if you don't find a reason to, you know, actually do PvP in this game, and you still say the corruption system prevents you from doing open world PvP, then I don't know, then I think you should go play, I don't know, Black Desert Online or Arcade or something in that nature.
Well, I mean, to chip in on this, there's also the other way around. Like, I've been watching a lot of podcasts and videos, and I actually see a lot of people in there wanting to not get attacked at all. Like questions like, is my freehold 100% safe? If I do this, am I 100% safe? If I do that, is it 100% safe? Like basically not wanting to get attacked at all and just do the PvE.
Yeah, I don't agree with that one either. If you just want to do PvE, then go play World of Warcraft or Guild Wars 2. You have to be for this game. You have
Pantheon out there, and that's 100% PvE.
That's you can't be safe all the time. Like because this game is all about gaining power and change and things of that nature. Crafters are going to drive the game, but crafters with that power, there has to be a check and a balance, right? Like you guys are going to be crafting and making money and things of that nature. You're going to be starting caravans. There has to be a check to that, right? There has to be an option for somebody else to take that power away from you.
Let me add this. T just said this in the community chat. You're never always safe. I mean, even in real life, right? You're not always safe. But in the game, when you go out and you fight bugbears or turtles or whatever it is that you're going to have to deal with, that's not PvP per se, but that's still danger. Your character can still drop and lose the fight, right? So the difference is just a player-controlled entity as opposed to not. So inevitably, PvP has become a gankfest, me versus you. Do I have better skills at this game? Where we're trying to make it meaningful. But understand that no matter what, if you're playing an MMO, every time you step out of your closet room, whatever, when you log in, you have the chance to die to something. Otherwise, you're not playing the game. Why are you logged in? When it comes to the PvP side of it, there has to be some element of danger to it so that there's a reward and an effort that comes out of the back side of it. Maybe that's you getting a guild so you don't get ganked. However, I don't want gankers, so balance that, of course. The point is you get a guild that helps with your caravan, and then that set of bandits that are role-playing being bandits can't take your stuff from you. Now you've both fulfilled what you wanted to do, and yay to each of us. Whether you win, lose, or die, it's part of the game.
I had a discussion with my brother really, really early on when I first joined Ashes, and I tried to explain to him what I understand Ashes of Creation is. And one of the lines he used was, "This is a game that for the first time in a long, long time, you have to be a fan of both PvP and PvE, because you will not do one without the other."
Yeah.
And then he asked me, "What do you mean?" And then I explained to him, and then I went to him, for example, World of Warcraft, in the early days you had open world PvP, but it was still mostly PvE. You had your battlefields, your arena stuff, but that's all instant, so there's no real PvP in the open world. Same goes for Guild Wars 2, and then there are PvP heavy games like Black Desert Online that are mostly PvP, but really shitty PvE. And I explained to him that this game, for the first time in a long, long time, is right down the middle. You can enjoy your whatever you want to do, but you have to be aware that you will be dragged into the other half of that coin. Even if you just want to play PvE, you're gonna get dragged into PvP. Even if you just want to PvP, you're gonna get dragged into PvE. If you don't get with that program, at least in my opinion,
go play something else.
Yeah, go play something else. That's something, because it's always the same. People come on the Discord, they have not done the research. They just skimmed through whatever information they found on Google. Heard something about the corruption system, didn't read the whole thing.
Murder box is a term I've seen a lot about AOC.
Oh, which term?
Murder box.
Yeah, murder box. Steven said the game is not meant to be a freaking murder box. It was the first freaking live stream where he said it.
Yeah.
And I think what
and the corruption system will fix some of that, because by killing someone and you apply that corruption to yourself, you're going to get a debuff that will eventually stack, which will make you useless in PvP. That means you'll end up getting killed.
But I mean, you have to have some skin in the game, right? Like merchants are going to have some skin in the game to balance out the power that they currently could possess. Whether it be through the caravan system, they don't necessarily need to partake in the caravan system. They just need to set up the caravan. They can hire people like NPCs, stay in the city. NPCs can go there, and people can also guard the caravan. And they don't necessarily need to be 100% fighting people if they really don't want to. But they will have that risk of losing their stuff. And that necessarily, I think, is fine. If people really hate PvP that much, they'll have things that they can contribute to that they don't necessarily need to actually PvP, but they will lose some things. And that's what I think people don't understand. I think a lot of those PvEers that are super scared of ganking and players are unaware that they have options where they can avoid a lot of PvP, whether it be the sieges and stuff like that. Once again, Steven's driven home the fact that your freeholds and that can be lost after a siege. If they've lost the siege, that they'll want to defend it and protect it, so they might need to actually get involved in the PvP, but they don't necessarily 100% have to. They can be pacifists if they want to, but they will lose some items some of the time.
Yeah, and Stephen did state that if you're attacked in a PvP and you deliberately don't engage in combat, hoping that person will get corruption, you have a chance to lose stuff yourself, so it will make you engage in combat. If they are your level, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you'll lose more when you don't attack back than when you do attack back. That's it's a good system.
And hopefully
it stops
has some
griefing
kind
from
of
both sides.
Hopefully there's something that involves or something you can't work around as players do. We always try to find workarounds for those and abuse them. Hopefully they make it so you attack somebody and then they don't attack. They only attack back once, so that they don't get they turn purple, but then they stop attacking after that, or something.
If they engage, the mechanic works differently.
Yeah, hopefully it's more like a percentage or something, or I don't know.
Test it in Alpha 1.
But they need a good UI
like that.
I'm pulling the plug now.
Thank you, BCG. It's been
done.
awesome to be here.
I'm sick of
thanks,
all of you.
BCG.
I'm kicking
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hey, whoa. That is.
Everyone's still welcome to Julie's Tavern.
That's the longest stream anyone's done.
Yeah, this is almost 3 hours. So thanks everybody for everybody who watched. Thanks for dropping in. Thanks you guys and the guys that already had to leave for trying this new format out with me. We're gonna be back in 2 weeks with the old format. I have to figure out how often I want to try this new format. I definitely don't want to do this like constantly now. But this is a nice pace. This is something really productive, and I guess people enjoyed it. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, you did almost hit 50 viewers. So.
Yeah, almost. Well, we hit 76 on YouTube, Twitch, and Mixer combined. So yeah. But anyways, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for you guys to join me. Like I said, we're gonna be back in 2 weeks again with the old format. Normally in the other podcasts, I would allow everybody to plug themselves. But yeah, no. Not today. That would take way too long. So
there's a lot of people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. So I'm just gonna plug myself. I do Twitch. I do YouTube. If you want to check me out, go find me if you can. So yeah, everybody, take care.
All right, see you guys.
All right, everybody, stay safe.
Yeah.